Hello and welcome to another episode of Diplostrats. You will notice once again that this is not the map that you're used to seeing. This is a map of the Mediterranean, set in a very different, well, not very different, still in Europe, but very different era at the very least to standard diplomacy. This is a map, I believe, called Hellenic Diplomacy. It is currently being playtested, so this was the first playtest of it, and Ezio was playing in this game. Ezio, do you want to say who you were and point it out on the map?
Hello. So in this game, I was Scythia. I was this dark green power up here, and there were 11 people in this game, 11 countries. So we'll go through the other countries real quick so that people can know who they are, because the names are a little odd. So we have Scythia, that's me, in the dark green. We have Ionia in the light green. Oh, I don't know if you guys can see the mouse, but here we go. We have Ionia in the light green. We have Doric, that's in the purple. We have Achaia, that's in this teal. We have Phoenicia, that's yellow. We have Lydia, that's pink. We have Illyria, that's this peach color. We have Etruscan, that's this red color. We have Egypt down here, that's this dark blue color. We have Carthage, that's this tan color. And we have Iberia, that's this dark brown color. That's all of the 11 powers in the game. And I'll do a quick zoom out so everyone can just get a brief look at the whole map for a second to see the entire Mediterranean in all its glory and appreciate how big this map gets. But now we are going to spend the rest of the game zoomed in to 150% because, as you can see, I am a regional miner and I don't care about what happens on the rest of the board.
Yeah, we will occasionally have a look at other places, I'm sure, but like most of the western parts of the Mediterranean is probably not going to be hugely looked at in this commentary. So, on top of that, I think I need to mention the designer for this map is Conpope. As previously mentioned, this is a playtest, so this is not the final version of the variant. You may see changes if we cover this again. Ezio, were there any special rules in this one that people might not be used to in standard diplomacy?
Yeah, so there were not too many weird rules. There was, as these variants tend to have, the different countries have a different victory condition to reach. The smaller regional miners only needed to get to 25 supply centers, but the big colonials needed to get to 44. And the numbers of the colonials is a little off because Ionia had 11 centers to start. They have to get to 44 centers. Doric starts with 10 centers. They have to get to 42 at the end of the game. Achaia and Phoenicia have to get to 34. But I only have to get to 25 to solo. So that's a pretty standard rule. The other one that's odd is the regional miners, so that's Scythia and Doric and I believe Illyria, have the ability to core one province extra in the game because we start separated from the Mediterranean. I think they gave this to let us potentially core in like whatever Thessalonica or something to build on the Med, but that's only the three of us, and that's only once per game. So, but other than that, it's just standard diplomacy. There's a little bit of an oddity here in BYZA and Calc, in that it was intended to be a land bridge that only armies could walk over, but fleets could not. But then after the GM asked the players in the game, and I think 10 of the players thought that fleets could move over it too, the GM changed that rule to what everyone thought it was anyways, which is just the connection that units can move between BYZA and Calc. But yeah, other than that, standard diplomacy.
Okay, so just a note there. Is BOSP connected to MOM?
Yes.
Yes. So these are connected both ways. Okay. So you're not, when you say you're isolated from the Mediterranean, you're not entirely isolated, but this would be an insanely easy area to stalemate otherwise, right? You can just stick a couple fleets in there and no one can ever get their fleets out.
Yep.
Or in, for that matter.
Yep.
But that
That's a good.
the
That's a
in
good
part
thing.
is advantageous. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Well, I'm just looking at the map first. I do notice that a lot of these, like, more major powers have little dots everywhere in the same way that you would experience, like, a colonial power in imperial diplomacy, for example.
Yep.
And that's immediately relevant to you because you've got two, what are basically one province minors, right, in your area, but they're very large powers in terms of the entire board, and they're right next to you.
Yep.
So how did those opening negotiations with them go?
So one other thing that's a little minor is that Doric Purple is also in Byzantium, and so they're kind of like a 2-power minor, a 2-center minor that's adjacent to me, as if they try to use Byzantium to mess with me. But they sent it south, so that was one of the things that I did want to happen. Was, hey, please don't worry, like, you don't need to go into Sea of Bosphorus, you can get to Calc just fine from Marm, and you can also go to MYT. So, alright, don't worry about going north, because I think it's easier to negotiate with a small, weak minor than negotiating with someone with 2 centers. As for negotiations, something that I didn't notice at first is that I start with 3 armies in this variant, and I am a very coastal power, with all 3 of my home centers starting on the coast. And in this variant in general, something that you might notice is that there's tons of naval provinces, not naval, coastal provinces, and there's tons of massive sea provinces. Like, if you look at Western Black Sea, for example, you see how it borders 2 of my home centers, 2 of Lydia's home centers, and 1 of Doric's home centers, and an extra supply center just for good measure. So this one center is like the North Sea if every center that the North Sea touched was a home supply center. And I have no influence over it. So I have 2 armies.
Yeah.
So that made negotiations tough. Yeah, because I can't defend myself.
Yeah, and I mean, you can immediately see that, right? You've got fleets everywhere adjacent to you on the very first turn with all of these moves. Were you trying to, like, convince them not to go into the sea provinces?
Nope, I didn't even try.
Nope, not at all.
I was pretty
Okay.
confident that was not going to work. Because, I thought that maintaining good relationships was more important, and trying to tell them, hey, it's okay to move into the sea province, you just don't have to take my supply centers, you can do other stuff. One of the things that this variant does a really good job of is forcing early tension. If you think back to Imperial Diplomacy and how many neutral supply centers there were, almost every country could grow, like, +2 in the first year safely, without interfering with any other country, without taking dots from anyone else, just by expanding into neutrals and being nice and friendly. Uncontested neutrals are not really a thing in this game, period. If you just look across the map and you see, like, right, there's bounces over this neutral center, which prevents them from getting into Germany, which is fun. And then, like, Fan, there's 3 centers bordering it. Calc, there's 2 people bordering it. Just there's tons of pressure everywhere for all of these centers, right? Kane has people bordering stuff, and so trying to figure out how these supply centers were going to go is huge. I was putting a lot of effort in my diplomacy to try to be the one who gets Ruse, and I wasn't expecting to get Audrey. I was expecting to just support myself into Ruse and say, hey, I'm going +1, that's great. But then once I saw that Thessalonia didn't move to contest Audrey, I was really happy with how this first turn went, actually. I was ecstatic, because despite there being hostile fleets out of all of my things, I can walk into 2 centers guaranteed. and that's a great place to be. And then maybe I can get fanned by convincing other people to do other stuff. We'll see how that works.
Yeah, like one of the interesting things I was thinking about this, right? This would be pretty amazing if it was a build anywhere variant, because you don't need to care about your home SCs. You can just walk off and take a pretty safe core in the middle of the inland area, right?
Yeah.
Which no one is going to have huge amounts of force to attack, because the sea is so valuable in this variant that most people won't have armies, right? Or won't have a big force of armies.
Yep.
But here, you do need to care about your home SCs at the same time as taking these, right? Because if you lose your home SCs, you are screwed. You have nowhere to build. So you will still need to deal with those fleets that have just gone into all of the sea provinces around you, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a thing that I'm gonna have to deal with at some point.
So what was your thought here? Just like, I'll deal with that in the future, I'll let them take it this turn? Or was it, I'm gonna beg them not to go in?
Well, I'm gonna beg them not to go in, but I can't exactly stop them. So, it's literally me just begging, please don't take my centers, thank you. We can be friends, I'll help you in stuff, and we can be allies, because allies are good. And I made that pitch to everyone. Yeah, I tried real hard to have them not take my dots.
The way you're saying this makes me think it wasn't very successful, but I guess we'll see that on the next turn. There were a couple of other things I wanted to look at here. You didn't have who are the dark blue power over there?
This one?
Sorry, not the dark blue, the purplish on the right-hand side of the Black Sea.
These guys.
Yeah. That power.
Yeah.
They didn't go up to... oh, God.
KUBN.
I don't have any of the full names of these provinces.
Yeah, I don't know it either. I've referred to tons of them by their, KUBN.
But yeah, they at least didn't go all out against the province that you're looking to take, right? So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it was a great sign.
And in fact, the way that they've opened, they're actually super focused on those dots in the middle of Turkey, or well, on the eastern side of Turkey. So that's a really good sign, I think. And I don't understand what Pink is doing with the self-bounce between the armies there. Lydia, I think they're called. That just seems pointless. There's nothing they gain defensively from doing that self-bounce, right?
It was just holding with two of their armies.
Which... Yeah, I was wondering if you had any insight on why they did that, but I assume maybe it was a bit too far away from what you were looking at.
I don't know why they did it.
Well, we can but speculate.
Yeah, we can but speculate what their plans were. And it was definitely surprising. And what I will say is I talked to a lot of other people about this move in the negotiations here, and this move made a ton of people lose respect for the Lydia player immediately, which I thought was a good sign. Because it's like, oh, I want them to work with me, not Lydia, and hey, Lydia's not going to be the best player, probably, so maybe we'll be okay. We can work something out.
Fair enough, yeah. I guess one thing that does worry me about the position this ends up with them in is that they can actually convoy into your home supply center here if you don't cover it, which is a bit more painful than them just taking it with a fleet, right? Because they can keep pushing in. But was that something you were considering?
Yep. But which one are they gonna convoy to, CaptainMeme? Western Black Sea, the beautiful province, the beautiful place that it is, borders both of my homes. Do I cover?
I would convoy to, I think that's Odessa, right? The southern one, just because it can't be contested by purple. But then maybe that's the more likely one that you cover. It's a good question.
Yep, exactly. So my approach here was to say, if they go for it, they go for it. Can't stop it. It costs too much to cover both. Because I would lose 2 guaranteed builds, right? Because Ruse and Audrey are both guaranteed for me. Right? If Ruse or Audrey were like a flip, some people might move in, then it'd be harder to guess because I can cover and defend, but like, I can't pass up on the guaranteed 2 centers. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a weird scenario because like I see this kind of tactic work really, really well in just diplomacy games in general, right? Someone who's doing quite well already will quite happily just focus on gaining a center somewhere else and sacrifice a center behind them because they go even and they get a better position. In this case, giving up home supply centers changes that calculation completely.
Yeah.
But you do have to go somewhere. You can't just sit on your home supply centers forever, so I think you made the right choice.
Yeah, also it changes the calculus when they're convoying a unit in there.
Yes.
Because denying a convoy is a pretty big deal.
Well, you just gotta hope that they're not convoying.
Yep, just hope they're not convoying. Just hope is the moral of the early game for me in this game. One of the things that I didn't mention is I joined this game technically as a sub. There was somebody else who sent out the opening press to my neighbors, but then they subbed out like only a couple hours into the first phase, so I'm essentially not a sub. But it did mean that I didn't have to send out the initial opening press messages. And the player that I took over for had a very interesting gimmick that they were using, and I didn't want to deal with that gimmick at all. And I actually noticed that the gimmick kind of pissed off a couple of my neighbors with it, and they were not happy at all. And so,
what was the gimmick? If you don't mind me asking.
So the gimmick was that they were pretending to be a corporation. And so, hey, this is Scythia and Co. or something. And we will give you a list of things that you can do to gain currency with us. Scythia bucks or something. And so this could be leaking information to us, the company. Yes, leaking information to the player. Then also they would send moves to each player. So they would they took a screenshot of the map, and for Colchis, for example, it was like, okay, if you move into KUBN, that would lose you 1 unit of currency. But if you move into ARAR, that gains you 1 unit of currency. And most tiles were neutral. But this really rubbed some players the wrong way, because for the map that was sent to Illyria said if Illyria moved to PIRU or Sigri, they lost a buck. And then the Illyria player was like, I can't do that. That's ridiculous. And then there were no negotiations further between Scythia and Illyria, and I was like, oh, that's a bad sign. So it was a fun gimmick, but I immediately tossed it out. I said the company had been acquired by new management, and the contractors were gutting it.
See, I love the idea thematically. I think it can be hilarious, and gimmicks can actually work really, really well when you play them well, but you need to not make demands before you've talked to someone.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what I understand is that it wasn't intended to be like if you lose a buck, it's really bad, right? Because what do you do with the dollars? You could theoretically spend them in the future to make Scythia do things that you wanted them to do, which I think is such a perfect gimmick, because I don't have to do anything, right? If you can say I'll spend $10 to get you to support me into a center or something, and then I could just not. So I love that part of the gimmick, but I saw that my neighbors were responding poorly to it, and so I called it off. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think that was probably a good call.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
I did have one rules question real quick I want to ask. These random island provinces, so for example Kirk, which is between Italy and Albania, are these imperial diplomacy island provinces where armies can walk onto them?
Yep.
Or are they... Okay. Right, so armies, that is basically a land bridge there.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm used to diplomacy variants where that's not the case, actually. I'm used to that being, like, a fleet-only move, but it seems like the more modern variants have tended towards those being land bridges. So that is what is happening here. And that does make sense as to why everyone is moving armies towards it.
Yep. One of the things
Yeah.
that's fun about this map is there's tension in the literal first turn. You see here we have Achaia supporting Ionia into a Doric center on the literal first turn, because all three of these are adjacent to each other, which is just not something that you see in a lot of variants, and that's just really cool.
Doric attempting to support Achaia into the green one as well, right?
Yeah.
And them not taking that support. So that's the kind of negotiations that usually you get over Belgium in the fall of 1901 rather than spring. This really does throw you right into it as certain powers.
And it's like, instead of it being Belgium a mere neutral, these are cores, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
Yeah, it's very significant very quickly.
Oh, that was the other question I wanted to ask, sorry. You said that three of the powers have the possibility to core a province. Is that like an action a unit needs to take, or is that just something you write on your orders? This province becomes core?
You write on orders in a winter. You core it in the winter, and then you can build on it the following year.
Okay, that makes sense. Right. So I don't know if you want to point out anything specific about this this turn that's going on. Now would be the time to do so, if so. Otherwise, we can. Well, we could just take a quick look around the map and see what stands out as interesting here.
Yeah. So one of the things, there are a couple of these provinces that are on islands but are landlocked. So this SUNU center, ENMA over here, and KNO over here. These are all supply centers, and because they're landlocked, fleets, right, can't take them. But armies can, and so if you get it secured, you're probably just going to have that supply center forever, because how else are people going to get armies over there? It's such a pain, especially for this one on Crete. So this seems to me to be a important focus point of early game strategy, but also convoying is a pain because you'd rather use armies to do other things, and if your fleet gets dislodged, etc. But it's a huge benefit to getting control of them. And ENNA is nice because Ionia has the army right there. But that's the thing that I wanted to talk about.
It's worth saying, because I did ask Ezio about this just prior to the recording, in Crete, the one in the middle of Crete, even though it's drawn to look like it touches the coast and separates Etan from Kaido, it doesn't. Those two are connected. It's just like a territory in the middle of them that isn't adjacent to either of the coasts. So that territory, because no one can build in that area, right? No one can build on that island. The only way in is to convoy, and once you have an army there, you can bounce convoys and stuff. That is a super powerful province to be in. Especially considering if you just stick an army there and stand there in KNO, the enemy has to get armies into both Etan and Kaido in order to dislodge it, and even then they can be cut, right? So that is like the ultimate survival province as far as I can see.
Yeah, it's super good for survival, and also just great to have captured because it lets you have a center that's super safe, and you don't have to worry about defending it very much because it's so isolated.
Yes.
Because if you have Kaido and Eton, right, you're defending them anyways, and you just get to defend No as a free bonus. It's great.
Yes, and looking at this, I think there are a couple of people positioned to try and take it. Blue could, like Egypt even, could convoy over in the first year. So can Light Green, so Ionia, because they still have their unit in Athens there. And, even, actually, Doric also has a unit in Isa. So could be contested by quite a lot of people early on this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, as a heads up about the player information, Doric in purple was Salt.
Oh no. Okay.
Yes. So that was fun to know. Yeah.
So, for those who might not know this, you may need to go back and watch the Imperial Diplomacy video for context. Salt is a player I was next to in the Imperial Diplomacy game. Very, very well known for executing stabs, like absolutely merciless stabs, and just being a very bold player and taking stabs that no one would think people would take, right? Just stabbing everyone at once, for example.
Yeah.
Really, really good player, really good at calculating stuff. Ezio gave me a really hard time for attacking him all the time in the Imperial Diplomacy game because I didn't want to work with him. So it's going to be interesting to see how you deal with him in this context.
Yep. It's exciting for sure. Makes you feel great to have to leave your home center with him in a year. Right? Isn't that a great feeling?
Yep. Oh boy. Well, at least he didn't go into the Bosphorus, right?
At least he didn't go into Bosphorus too. That would have been at least scary. Yep. All right. I think we should go look at retreats real quick, because this army in Luke does have to retreat, and it retreats into up here, and that's the only retreat on this first turn. Ready to see the spring moves?
Absolutely. I did also just want to mention, I think this started after we released the Imperial Diplomacy video, right?
Yeah. So
Salt will have come into this game with a good impression of you because you were spending that entire video saying I should have worked with him.
That is true.
Anyway,
and
let's go ahead to this. Oh my god.
Womp womp.
Oh, that's so horrible. You lost 2 of your home supply centers.
Yup. To a convoy. Guess you didn't take it though. Salt.
Oh, this is incredible. Alright. Well, at least you didn't get bounced out of fan, so you do get a build here, right?
I gained 3 supply centers on the first year. So I am still building. Because I lost 2.
Yeah. I will say I've never seen someone lose 2 home supply centers in the first year and then build. I don't think I've ever seen... No, I have absolutely seen someone lose 2 supply centers in the first year. Austria, that happens to sometimes. But, like... Wow.
Yep. It's we're off to the races in this variant. 0 to 60 immediately. So what I discovered after the fact is that there was an arrangement made by the Ionian player to work with Lydia and Doric to just eliminate me immediately. And they say, alright, we'll just take all of his home dots and Scythia's out of the game. Easy. It's fine. Let's do it. And Lydia was on board for that, but Doric, as you can see in this area, everything went whack pretty crazy, and as part of stabbing Ionia in this region, Doric also decided to not follow through with this arrangement. And so just took Kirky instead of taking my home. So, it was pretty wonderful. I get to build. I'm not dead. There's just an army in Odessa, and Yeli is cooked, and it's so far away. Right? You see like how long it takes me to move units over there to get back? Yeli's gone. I don't need that home supply center anyways. That one's for suckers. I just have this useless army in Fan that can't do anything. It's fine. I can be a 2-center regional. We'll be okay.
I feel like you can get Yeli back though, right? Because I assume at this point you're allied with the purpley color.
Yeah, Doric.
Right. Not.
Colchis. Yeah, the gray one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you could push in with their unit that's just taken Theodora there into the Sea of Azov and then take Yeli. Although I guess that's a bit of a guessing game because you obviously can't directly support them you don't have a fleet, so you can't help push them into Azov. You
Yeah.
have to just take the 50-50 on whether he's covering Azov or holding your home center once
Yeah.
you're back adjacent to it.
Also, I had some intel about the Colchis player, as someone who doesn't press very well and tends to have solid tactics but gets coalitioned in games. This was just information I have heard, and it was lining up because I wasn't impressed by their early messages, and I was very confident if they help me retake Yeli by using their fleet or by pushing an army north, then they'll just take it, and they won't do it themselves. So I really didn't want them to send any other units north to help me. I was just fine. You know what? It's just fine if we have each of us have a center over here, and then we're fine. Let me get my home back and not have to deal with the really strong eastern threat.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think you should be very grateful to them for taking Theo in any case.
Yeah, Theo's fine. I'd much rather have had them take Theo than Cher, because Doric building is good because they were my friends, and Ionia building is they're not. Grr.
Yeah, I should say here, I do actually see the reasoning for this plan that Lydia put forward, right? Of just murdering you immediately.
So
Because your position looks like it could get very strong very fast if you do manage to start building fleets.
yeah, and again, it was
just
technically
corner
it was
power.
Ionia, the green player, the big colonial power.
Oh, right, yeah.
Not Lydia. Lydia was just like, hey, sure, I can attack somebody and not piss off the powers near me. That's great. But yeah, so this is how the first turn went up in the Black Stilo corner, and of course Colchis meanwhile went +3 because they gained Theo and Kane and Aleppo and have no enemies and are in a nice little corner off in their own world. Yeah, so they're off to a fantastic start, and then there's me. Lydia started with 4 centers, so even though Lydia is only +2, Lydia is still going to be on 6 units. Yeah. Just, Yep.
Well, I can't wait to see how you wriggle out of this one. I should say here, I do know that Ezio survives to the end of this game. So I can't wait to see how you survive this, because it does not look very...
Survivable.
Yeah.
Yep. One of the things that is a huge saving grace was Illyria, right? Not contesting Ruse or Audrey, and just going for this convoy into Bari. Having Illyria focus on the west and messing around with Etruscans means that I have like a safe border over here for a while. With all of these centers in Mace and Priu and Sigi being demilitarized, like we didn't even explicitly agree to demilitarize it. Just that's what happened naturally, and so that was great for me. I was a huge fan. That's a big deal. And yeah, then just a sense of how of the global alliance structures. We see that Akia and Doric did a bold flipperoo onto Ionia. So currently they're not happy with it, and so if I can hey, maybe I can get down and mess with Thessalonia to help Doric. And that's bargaining chips that are now on the table, which are useful. But obviously, my priority is very straightforward at the moment. It's, can I retake my my home center, please? Thank you. So, yeah. You want to see the builds?
I'm just looking very quickly at that Greek region over near Epirus, basically where that 3-way attack was on the first turn, right? The 3 people...
Oh, this one, yeah.
All contesting each other. So what happened there? We see Nalop going and stabbing Ionia, presumably, right? But Ionia's unit that had successfully just gotten into Luke is now walking into the Achaean thing? Was there a general breakdown between Ionia and Achaea at this point?
My understanding, there probably was, and this tapping of an AUP I think is a really good safe move, because if they hadn't agreed for this unit to do anything, then it shouldn't be moving anywhere. So I want to tap it to make sure it doesn't do something like take my center, and if it does, then at least I take theirs so they don't gain anything. I think
That
that's
makes
just
sense.
a standard defensive move. I don't think that's necessarily part of a stab. What I understand happened in this region is that they were all making plans and negotiations with each other, but primarily with Doric. And Doric accepted both of their offers to hurt the other, and just did it. And so was able then to get supported into places and have weird things happening.
Yeah, really nice turnaround from Doric there. I did also want to take a look at, after we talked so much about how effective the convoy to Crete would be, no one went in with a convoy. They were all too busy taking other supply centers. So I guess we won't see an army there for a little while.
I was really shocked that Egypt didn't go for it. I remember just moving into Jordan instead of convoying up. Yeah, that was surprising to me.
Jordan doesn't even feel like a very useful province to be in, unless you were anticipating. Maybe they were anticipating they would get bounced out of Gaza, right? And then they needed the extra unit adjacent. I guess that must be what they thought.
Yeah, it must
I
be.
am also just now looking at the map properly and realizing there is a massive province off to the right called Mid. I don't know what exactly that's called, but if Egypt goes there, it does mean Egypt is technically only, 3 tiles away from you?
Only 2. From Middle East to Ukraine into Yeli. Although I suppose not really in Yeli. But it could also go into KUBN and then into Faz. Yeah, there's this sort of land superhighway across the edge of the map, in that you can move from, Iberia to Germany to Syria to Ukraine to Middle East, then you're on the other corner of the map in, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
2? Yeah, 2 years. So you can get armies can move around the edge of the map very quickly.
Which I guess is the counterbalance for how strong fleets are in general in this variant. Armies can be very useful as well in certain places. Although, I say Egypt is 3 moves away from you. I think Egypt would not be very smart to go for that, because you're separating your units if you do that, and that is always a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Because you can't put strength on anywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm just looking at other interesting things as well. I notice on Sicily, there's just a 2-way exchange of centers there.
Yep.
So I guess Ionia figured out that they were about to get stabbed and just went for the extra dot there. There was an exchange of center on Sardinia as well.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah, the one in Sicily was particularly tilting because they both have access to neutral, so they both could have just taken, but instead they just swapped centers instead. And it's like, oh man, we prisoners dilemma ourselves.
Yes. And of course, Doric will be rubbing their hands and going, oh, everything is proceeding according to my design.
Yep, more or less.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to talk about as to what's going on here?
This Carthage holding this sea province instead of taking Meno. I thought this was genius, because you don't want to be going to 6 if you're in the middle like this, because that's just going to attract a bunch of negative attention. And with Iberia going to 6, then we have the things here. Oops, this is something we can use. And with Iberia going up to 6, everyone's going to focus on them and not you. But if you were also at 6, they would have to be worried of you. But instead, hey, we can use Carthage against them because reasons. I think what's actually happened is I think they just misordered or forgot to input something with Tunis with this unit.
I mean, it's possible also they just had agreed with both of their neighbors saying, hey, you can take these island provinces, and they didn't know what to do, right?
Yeah.
But then usually you'd see a support. I'm very confused as to why Phoenicia is convoying in instead of going in with a fleet there.
This army is not very useful, and armies can still move around, is my guess.
Right. Is the army not very useful? It feels like it's much more useful on in North Africa. Like, if you move it to Western Sahara, it's touching Taka, and it can move into a lot of other places that border SCs as well. But I guess if they do want to just control the Western Med, it is a way to keep the fleet there.
Yeah, and if they don't want to fight with Carthage, getting the army out of there is potentially useful. But yeah, it's not a convoy.
I'd be very worried that Carthage will just build and murder me if if I do this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the colonials in this variant, are that each of their regions, they are weaker than the minor that is in the same region, except Phoenicia right here. Right, they have 3 centers in this kind of little clump, so they can actually put up a fight. And you can argue Doric in this region. They would beat Egypt if they fought. But like Phoenicia in the west and Ionia in the west, right? Ionia is weaker than Etruscans, and so in all of the separate regions, the regionals have the strength over the colonials, but the colonials obviously have the global strength and will still you don't want to fight, but they need to find a way to negotiate.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we're about done looking over here. I guess I would say I think Brown is doing incredibly well, the one on the very far left of the map. They managed to obtain a pretty good amount of supply centers, and they're a corner power, so that's always nice to see as them.
Yeah, Iberia seems very strong here from this start. Just like, yeah.
Plus, they just have Helvetica guaranteed on the next turn as well. It's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, it feels great. And, like, they start with 2 fleets and an army, so they can, like, build 3 more fleets and then just have the biggest naval force in the Western Med. Yeah. It feels really good if you're them.
It's actually notable that the center they took off Ionia, right? The Heme.
Yeah.
Ionia could have defended that for an equal supply center count. They could have, and it's like very obvious what Iberia is about to do here, but they just decide to evacuate their unit instead.
Yep.
Which I think is it's a fair thing to do, but it is going to make Iberia super strong. You're basically saying, I'm not going to be the person to deal with this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm good to move on if you are.
Let's see the builds. Or probably retreats. Was there a retreat? There was probably a retreat somewhere.
No, it's builds.
Just builds. Cool. Oh my god, I have a fleet.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, will you put down a fleet or an army? Sure, yeah, it has to be a fleet, right?
Oh my god, I have a
You
fleet.
need some degree of control over the water provinces here.
Yep.
Although you could just YOLO an army and say, hey, I'm going to be an inland power from now until the end of the game.
Yeah, but that was the thing that I considered. And coring ruse to then just be safe over here, but I didn't think that would give me a chance to win.
Yep.
Yeah, you feel like I need to fight for the Black Sea at least a little bit in my region. Yeah.
I think that's fair.
We saw this army build here in Hera, which I was so happy to see. Because they... I just thought that fleets are more important, and so to see the army made me feel good. Essentially, yes.
You know what? I'd be pretty terrified of that army build, because I think it's getting convoyed to Tira with support.
Yup.
And that is kind of horrible, especially considering the only place that Dacia can go with the... sorry, not Dacia, Doric can go with their fleet that's in Kirky.
Yeah, the western coast of Kirky.
Is a place that will make your fleet either blow up or be completely useless on the retreat.
Yep.
So... yeah.
So, I agreed with your analysis of what this army is intending to do. The counter, though, is to dislodge Western Black Sea. Good news.
Do you have units there?
I have a friend.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Beg salt to save your life.
Byzantium is adjacent to Calc, right? That's actually super important here because it means you can tap that unit and dislodge the fleet and stop the convoy. Beautiful.
So, we pull back to Agat and Geta. We dislodge West Black Sea, and then we can take ODES, and then maybe we could even get Salt to bounce with us in Tira, and maybe we could build. I don't think I'm building this year. I'm pretty confident this year is just all about getting ODS, getting the army out of here, and then dealing with it. And then we'll be fine.
I'd actually be kind of tempted on this winter phase to core not Ruse, as you said, but Audrey, just as a place a little bit away from this conflict that can still build a fleet. But it's not a great fleet building location, is it? Like looking at it,
Yeah.
it's just in case you need those home supply centers to be building in.
Yeah, Audrey is it's a potential place to core for sure. It's really close. It touches the Aegean Sea, and it might be useful for getting fleets out this way or later. I at no point in the game feel secure about my center on Audrey. Um, yeah, because I have to pull back to ODES. I feel like Audrey is going to be taken by somebody at some point. It's adjacent to Byzantium, right? If they ever build an army, they can move in. If units get into this sea of NAEG, they can tap Audrey and take it whenever, so I'm petrified of that happening. So I don't feel secure about Audrey, and I don't... I know that if I fight for the Aegean, I will get in conflict with all of the colonial powers in a serious way. Whereas if I stay localized and fight over the Black Sea, they don't really care, right? The colonials only have a few dots up here. So I can mostly stay out of their way, and they don't have to get pissed at me. But if I fight for this, then they do. And coring this, I think, would make them think I'm going to fight them for the Aegean, and I want to avoid that.
That does make total sense. So yeah, gonna be super interesting to see what happens here. I'm assuming by how joyfully you said it that you do actually manage to dislodge Western Black Sea, but we will see that on the next phase. Were there any other builds that you wanted to discuss?
Army Fast. Right, Army Fast, and it's like, suspicious of this one.
I mean, it can do a lot more than attacking you, right? Just because of that massively long province on the right-hand side.
Yep.
But yeah, it can also just attack you.
So this one was fun. About like 20 minutes before the end of the phase, he says, "Hey, you're not moving into KUBN, are you?" And I'm like, "Well, I wasn't, but now I certainly am."
Okay, right. And so I assume on the next turn we are going to see a bounce there. Let's go ahead and see.
Look.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a bounce, and they were absolutely positioning to murder you there.
Yep.
Wait, what on earth is that convoy?
Yep.
That's the wrong way.
Lydia attempted to convoy out of ODES and didn't tell me.
Oh no.
I had sent them a message being like, "Hey, can we work together?" And they said, "After I take Tira and I have Western Black Sea under total control, then we can be friends." And I was like, "Alright, well, that means we're gonna be at war. That's fine." So I did this.
That's the same as saying no, yeah.
It's the same as saying no. But then they convoyed out.
What?
Yeah, but then I dislodged their fleet. So they didn't get out. So their army's still stuck.
If they told you that they were doing this, and you actually believed them, right?
I would have believed them.
It's absolutely in your interest to just let them convoy out. That's beautiful for you.
It would have been amazing. But no, I dislodged the Western Black Sea.
So the convoy fails and the army stays there.
Yep.
Amazing. I don't even really see the point to them convoying back out like this. It's not like they're putting pressure on anything useful, right?
Oh, I have no idea what they were thinking. Absolutely no clue what Lydia was thinking with this convoy out.
So, I mean, the purpose of... I assume the purpose of this is to get 2 units on Byzantium, right? Without losing Western Black Sea in the process, because this is the only way you can guarantee that. Ideally, you would actually like to push up Hera into Kalk, but you can't successfully do that because Western Black Sea is going to get cut, so you can't support that move. Byzantium will bounce you out of Kalk. But this is just... like, this doesn't work either unless you agree this with Scythia first.
Yep.
Yeah, because now you have a Doric unit in Cal.
Yep.
Okay. Well, it's an interesting turn of events that I was not expecting.
Yeah, the end result is quite similar to me to like what I was expecting to happen, with me forcing Western Black Sea and then being prepared to take ODES. But like they were trying to get out anyways. Like I didn't have to do any of this. They can still retreat into Bosphorus. So yeah, this is a fun negotiation. The following phase to be like, hello, I didn't know you're trying to get out. We should be friends. And then Lydia said, sure, okay, we can be friends. Yeah, it was very weird. Crazy turn of events.
Are they going to retreat to Bosphorus? I feel like there's reason to retreat to Sino here just because of that, the purple fleet. I forget what they're called again.
Colchis.
Colchis, yes. That fleet.
Yeah.
Going into...
There's a chance, but like Hera can cover Sino. And if you retreat into Bosphorus, you can convoy ODES out in the fall.
Oh, that is true, with support from Mar Marika, I think that's called. Yeah, that's an interesting one. So, and it looks like poor old Lydia there is getting ganked by everyone, right? Because Phoenicia also comes in from the south to attack them, and you can see that Colchis isn't just moving into that sea province, they're also going into the middle of Turkey, or attempting to, and failing. So this is actually quite a large coordinated attack against them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was working hard to get people to attack Lydia because I thought I was at war with Lydia.
Mm-hmm.
Only to realize I wasn't actually at war with Lydia.
Yeah, now I assume you're going around hoping that, well, I'd say you probably wouldn't be actively negotiating to try and stop people attacking them, right? But you're certainly hoping that some people stop attacking them so they don't just immediately collapse and leave all of these powers a lot bigger in the process.
Yep. Yeah, I suddenly want to prop Lydia up a lot.
Mm-hmm. Does that propping Lydia up a lot mean that you're going to let them keep Edessa or not?
No. No, it does not.
Fair enough. Yeah. Was there anything else here that you particularly want to look at?
Nah. That's just the convoy. Just the convoy, man.
I mean, the convoy is quite something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to have a quick look at the other side of the map just to see how Iberia is doing, because I know... Okay,
yeah,
they are
you thought Lydia was getting ganked. Yeah.
So, this is actually where it makes sense for Ionia not to have defended that SC in 1901. I say 1901, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't actually know the starting year. I call it 01 too.
Yeah, but they didn't... Like, if they'd have defended that SC, then Iberia would be less of an immediate threat, right? But that's actually not what you want as Ionia in this situation, because you want to have a target you can point at and say, hey, all you other people, we need to unite and kill this person. And it looks like they got exactly that by letting Iberia get as large as they did on the very first turn. Suddenly Phoenicia is after them, Ionia is after them, the Etruscans are after them. Yeah, it feels like it's going to be a bit of a painful time for Iberia here.
Yeah, it does not look good for them. Meanwhile, Carthage. Nice and easy time, little bounce, lots of expansion, walk into some centers for free, control stuff around. Feels great.
Yep, and zero pressure from the back, so they get to just build fleets and go everywhere into the Med. That's quite nice for them.
Yep.
Do we want to look at anything more this phase, or shall we move on to the next one?
We have Iberia being a massive menace in the west. We have Carthage just looking along nicely. This is a good time for me to just talk about the relationships that I have with the other countries that I have around me.
Yep.
So, Salt in Doric is my closest ally. And I need them to work with me or else I die. Which is a great situation to be in when that ally is Salt. It's wonderful. Colchis in Dark Grey has been not super hostile to me, but I have a feeling that hostility is there. And then this bounce in KUBN did not make them a huge fan of it, but I'm convinced it's the only reason I kept fan for this year. Notably, if I lose fan, by the way, I'm just going to disband it, because I don't want that army anyways, and I need to have units in the west.
Yeah, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, so Lydia here, right, with me seeing Lydia try to convoy out, just completely flips it, right? I'm just saying, great, we're just the best friends now. We're allies, forever. Let's go. I'm not going to attack you with my fleet in Western Black Sea, other than ODS, but I don't consider ODS attacking them. This is mine. So yeah, Doric is solid. Ionia, I'm not a huge fan of them because they took Yeli, but because they lost Theo, they're not particularly relevant in this region anymore. So it's just how are they interacting with the global scale, and maybe I would pressure them in Thessalonia, but I decided retaking ODS was better. Illyria, the press has dropped dramatically with them. I haven't heard much from them this phase. Etruscans, I haven't heard anything from ever the entire game. I sent like a couple messages and didn't hear back, so it's whatever. Yeah, and then Illyria, they moved back into PARU, which scared me, because it now borders Ruse. I think, though, they were focused more on retaking their home center that Doric stabbed them for in the first year, so I don't think they're going to mess with me, but once they move back here, I'm like, wait a minute, they could attack Ench from down here also. Then moving up here, maybe they're just going to take Ruse. Scary, didn't like it. So I tried to, hey, we can be friends, don't kill me, please, please. I'm weak, I'm dying. Yes. So Achaia, I have solid relations with, but Achaia isn't in the Black Sea. So I really don't care at all. It doesn't even border anyone near the Black Sea, right? The furthest, right, it's this stuff down here, so it borders Lydia, I suppose. But I think Achaia is going to attack Lydia or not, it doesn't really, like... I want Achaia to be strong as a sort of counterbalance to Doric, because things have been going pretty well for Doric, and I need to... since I am working with Doric in the north, if everyone works with them everywhere, they're just going to win, so I want somebody working against them, and to be strong enough to handle them if they go for a stab, and to be ready to keep them in check. And so I think Achaia is a good person for that. So I want to see Achaia do well, but no one's giving me any tactical information about anything that happens anywhere else on the map, because why would I care? And I can't, so there's really nothing I can do except, hey, I want these people to go well, but the press is fine. Phoenicia is Tyler, who I think won one of the games of Imtip. Did he win the game of Imtip that you were in?
Yes, he did. He was playing as Inuits.
Yeah. So he's Phoenicia on this one, and he's just a lovely person to talk to. Super friendly, super fun, bubbly.
Notably, he talks to everyone all the time, like, very actively. So he is also quite a dangerous player in terms of you might think you have a special relationship with him, but actually he has it with everyone.
See, so I heard you say that, but I was pretty confident in my relationship with him that it was actually special. And this was vindicated when I looked at the post-game. He was saying at some point, wow, Ezio has sent the best press I've received in any of these imp variants ever. It's like, it's tactical and precise, and it also has some fun out-of-game stuff. It was like the nicest thing anyone's ever said about my game ever. And Tyler said it in the thing. And he was like, he meant that he was super tight with me. And it was great. Shame he wasn't my neighbor, so it didn't matter. Also, the only reason our relationship could be so good was because you weren't neighbors. Because if we were neighbors, I would have been trying to kill him. But we weren't, so we could be friends. It was great.
Alright, well, way to show me up, given that I was one of his, the people he was talking to in Imtip, right? So, he didn't say anything that nice about my press, I say. I'm very offended.
Yeah, I mean, I think he meant it. I think he was explicitly saying Ezio's press is more fun than CaptainMeme's, is what he really said.
Honestly ridiculous.
It does seem ridiculous to me. I pride myself on my, like, tactical skill and on having a solid strategic sense of knowing where people are going to be moving on the map, my press is not one of my strong suits, I think. So to hear him say that about my press was excellent. I was surprising. But yeah, let's go to... that was the relationships that I have with the colonial powers. And it was like, Phoenicia I trust to be a huge asset at some point, and I don't expect it's going to mess with me long term. Ionia, if they can, they will. Doric, if they can stab me and get more from stabbing me than by working with me, they will. So, have to keep that in check.
I do want to, before we move on, I want to very quickly have a look at the Illyria situation a little more closely, right? The move adjacent to your home supply center. I feel like that's quite a big signal that they're about to work with Doric against you. Because
Sorry,
Doric
Alp
moved
to
into...
PIRU?
Yeah, or at least are about to try and snipe something off you, because that center that they're in, it's not just able to attack the center that got stolen from them, right? Sorry, the province that they're in is not just able to attack the center that got stolen from them, it's also directly adjacent to another province that the same player has who just stabbed them. I would not be wanting to move out of there in this situation. I would be wanting to, like, tap at the at Olympus, I guess that is.
Yep.
Yeah, and just try and screw over the Doric player if I'm attacking them.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Oh, trust me, I do not like that move back to Piru, or whatever the center is called. And remember,
Yes.
my press with Illyria hasn't been that great. But as is the moral of this game, you cross your fingers and you hope they don't attack you.
Alright, well, let's look at the next phase then, see whether they do.
I think it's retreats first. So
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Gant into Halley and Western Black Sea to Bosphorus. So not into
Okay.
Eastern Black Sea or anything crazy. And they don't attack me.
They don't attack you. They didn't even have support going in there. What?
I don't get it, man. I don't understand.
So I do see that they didn't try and go into SOTR, right? The sea province that's adjacent to that place. So I think, I do see that unit there that can potentially slip into their center, so they were covering back there. But at the same time, this could have been like an attempt by them to guess on the 50-50 is Doric trying to bounce me in that sea province. If they are, I might be able to slip in behind them, right?
Yep.
But they lost that 50-50. Doric clearly had some idea that they weren't going to go to the sea province, or maybe just thought, I'll keep the province, the supply center another year guaranteed if I hold right now, so it's worth me doing that.
Yep. So
Yeah.
the guess was correct. And it worked out.
Perfect for you.
I am so ecstatic about this happening, and I don't lose Ruse. And then I don't lose Fan, because I correctly guessed that he wasn't moving up to KBN, so I held this turn, right? And so Theo and Chris are just bouncing, and it's like, oh, hey, look, Kolkis is trying to fight me. That's annoying. So this turn, I leak all of the tactics of what Doric is doing to Lydia, because I want Lydia to stay alive. So I told Lydia that they didn't need to support themselves into Calc, and they could have bounced Sino. But Lydia didn't fully trust me. Slash didn't trust the information I'd been given. Because you see, right, I told them to convoy into Byzantium, and if they'd done that, right, Doric would have walked out of Calc. They would have taken Byzantium, they would have taken MYT, and they would have bounced Sino. So I think they would have built 2, because Calc was only moved in the spring. So I was really hoping that would happen, and then we can be friends. And again, because they tried to convoy out last turn, I flipped my entire script on it. But I did still support myself in, because I was worried about something crazy happening. And then I agreed to bounce in Tira with Doric, because Goad didn't have anything useful to do elsewhere, because I was already getting out of the Western Black Sea. So Doric is happy that they now have the 2 major sea provinces in the West, Black Sea. And they have an ally here, and this meant that even if ODS tried to get into Tira, it couldn't. So I was actually guaranteed safe in this part of the map, and then I got lucky with Ruse.
Well, nice. I would say that So I really like the approach of leaking all the moves to someone to try and like upset the balance of power a little bit and make sure that that Doric doesn't get too strong here.
Yep.
I say upset the balance. That's actually keeping it in balance even.
Mm-hmm.
But it's super risky to do something like that. It's more risky than you might think at first examination of it, because that person can also go and take that information to the person you're leaking against, right?
Yep.
If they just want to try and cause chaos to survive, which is quite often the case in these situations. So they could have gone to Doric and said, hey, Ezio told me you're doing this, and this. Do you want to work with me against him? He's not your ally. And,
Yeah, so
because those moves line up with what he's doing, that is actual evidence, right?
yeah, so strictly
But,
speaking, I didn't actually tell Lydia what Doric was doing. I told Lydia what moves to make.
Gotcha.
Subtly different. Because he then can't say, hey, Doric is doing these things, but I just happened to tell him, hey, you can convoy into Byzantium and you should support yourself into MYT.
That that makes sense, and I guess they could still take that information to Doric and say, "Hey, this is what's being told to me. That I'm being told to go into these provinces, and that you'll be vulnerable to this." And in that case, that would have very much scared Doric and maybe turned them against you. I think because they could see that was accurate to what that was accurate to their moves. But there's less incentive for Lydia to go and do that if you're telling them in that way, right? Because Lydia doesn't know, they don't know if giving that information is actually going to turn Doric or if it's just going to say, hey...
Change your tactics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And it's the thing where Lydia struck me as someone who was actually trying to work with me, right? You don't convoy out of ODES, right? Unless you're trying to work with me. That's just such a huge signal. And so I figured I would try to help them out and keep them strong, because right now I know that Colchis is messing with me, right, with the move up into KBN, right? I had a pretty good sense of that, so I don't want to see Colchis being successful, and I want Lydia to mess with that. I also want Phoenicia to mess with that, and so getting Assyria to snipe Aleppo is very nice for me. Quite happy about that.
Nice.
I didn't have much to do with that at all, just like telling Phoenicia, hey, we should work together. I'm happy gonna work with you against Colchis. We can do this.
Mm-hmm. There are a couple of things in that area I do want to discuss. The Colchis moved downwards instead of towards you, for one. Was that negotiated? That seems really good for you, because it's keeping Fan.
Absolutely no negotiations whatsoever.
Okay, in that case, I think they were hoping you would bounce them in Kubum again, or KUBM. And they were hoping to slip in behind you, right?
Yep, just like that's what they were thinking over in ENCH. Oops, that didn't happen.
Yeah, if they were planning to do that, I think have preferred to move into mid as with their unit here, just to keep the option of going north, right? Mid being the big province on the right.
Yep.
So, but I guess here they are quite clearly focusing, making sure that they have a unit adjacent to Aleppo to keep Phoenicians out. Unfortunately,
ARAR borders 3 centers, right? It's like a nice place to have a unit, and Assyria could have moved there and been annoying. Whereas mid is just like a transit province.
Yes.
It's nice that it borders a lot of things, but it doesn't actually like do anything useful in there. So I think ARAR makes sense.
Yeah, the important thing about mid is it keeps the option open of going and grabbing Fan from you. Although with them being stabbed by Phoenicia, I don't think it's a good idea for them to actually do that.
Yeah. I agree. I think that Colchis should have worked with me for most of this game.
I get the feeling that is going to become something that we talk about a bit more in future.
Yep, we'll see it as I have more stuff. Yep.
Yes. I do want to also look at these moves around Phoenicia, right? Phoenicia actually lost a lot of ground this turn, and their units are not in very nice locations because they lost that one province to... Well, they lost the guess against Lydia, for one. Like, that's a really painful guess to lose here.
2 units against 1, get nothing? Feels bad.
Yeah. And then at the same time, Akia, I think, takes their center behind them, and they stab the other person they're adjacent to. The one upside is that unit on Cyprus there that just got convoyed in is going to be super effective at harassing those Cyprus dots and trying to control them, I think.
Yep.
It's almost like an army in England. It's a very effective place to have an army just because it connects to things that a fleet can't get to.
Yep. This army can support stuff into KYRE or move into there. It looks really nice. And if you get into city, it can still move into KYRE. It's great. Also, with the Phoenicia position in the east, Egypt is moving really hard on them. This move to Jordan supports an attack into Palestine, and moving into here. Just really, really scary place for Phoenicia to be in the east. And if we look at the west even, we see Phoenicia loses ZANC. We see Phoenicia loses OBLI. Did get convoyed into SULC. The army made it over there, which is neat. And then Phoenicia saved here, but Phoenicia losing ground everywhere on this map. Really brutal turn.
Yeah, that army convoy into Sardinia is going to be really great as well, actually, which makes me think maybe it was a good idea to have convoyed it up after all. Just because it's really difficult for the other players to contest that army in the middle of Sardinia. But yeah, so the what else to note here? I do think Phoenicia is going to become a little bit of a non-factor in the east, but maybe that's calling it too early, given that they did pull off a successful stab and they do have that unit on Cyprus to try and control it. Maybe another thing to look at is this convoy from from Doric coming from Africa and going into Greece, right? That seems to be a pretty nice convoy. Is it a stab? I forget who they were working with exactly on this front.
This looks like a stab to me. There was an agreement, it looks like, to convoy KEPH onto the Sicily mainland. But instead, Doric just moved into ZANC and then convoyed into another Achaean dot over there.
Yes. So people learning about why Salt is a scary player.
Just stabbing everyone. Yep.
Yeah, because Salt stabs Phoenicia at the same time here, right? Yep. He takes the dot in Sicily.
Yep.
Just doing things you wouldn't really expect a diplomacy player to do. Usually, if you're in a situation like this, you're going, "Oh, it's fine. He's not going to stab everyone at once." Like, there's some degree of I don't want to be everyone's enemy that's going to hold him back.
But currently,
that's not true with Salt.
Yep, currently he's at war with Lydia. He's maybe at war with Phoenicia by taking a dot, maybe not. He's probably at war with Achaea. Certainly at war with Ionia. At war with Illyria. We already said Lydia. He's not at war with Colchis, so he's friendly there, and he's friendly with me.
Yep. And this is the situation that I was in Imperial Diplomacy, and I went, he successfully stabbed everyone, he's getting really scary, I will do what I can to hold him back, and I will go and attack him.
Yeah.
And I think that in this situation, given how much of a hard time you gave me over that, you are going to say, I'm glad I'm not the person being attacked, I'm going to stick with him for
He's at war with
while.
everyone else. Surely he can't be at war with everyone on the map. So, he's going to work with me.
Yep. I do actually think it's sensible here. I don't think he has a great attack on you. Especially if he wants to keep those dots in Crimea, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I'm interested in seeing what comes of that.
Yeah. Does Salt stab me? It is a question that I have many turns of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Cool.
Right.
Yeah,
Is there anything else you want to talk about here?
I think we can go to builds. And I get to build this year. It's truly incredible. We have retreats.
Because you self-bounced.
Because we self-bounced
not
Tira.
self-bounced.
Yeah, well,
bounced,
it's self-bouncing. Those Thoric units are basically mine. They do what I want, clearly.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, always a good assumption to make when Salt is involved.
Yeah. Those units, they do what I want. Literally, though, every move so far, except for the first year, I would have liked them to bounce in Western Black Sea instead. But like they've been doing basically exactly what I want them to do every turn in the year 2, right? They're basically my units, so it's great. But yeah, so we have some retreats going on. Like Iberia got pushed back out of the north, and is presumably going to be under a lot of pressure coming forward. Great builds. Yeah.
All
So
right.
so this is my biggest regret of the entire game.
I was gonna ask about that because that is not what I would build in that situation. Was
Yeah.
it Salt going to you and saying, "Hey, don't build a fleet"?
It wasn't explicitly that. It was that I observed that trying to move fleets to the east is a big pain. Building a fleet does likely lead to more conflict with Salt in the immediate term, but Tira can get convoyed quite nicely to Ukraine.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so it's like,
I see
oh,
that.
look at how quickly I can rotate my unit to the east to like retake Yeli and like get ready to start doing stuff. Right? That's like
Mhm.
it was this really short term thinking here. Like, oh, let me get an army and get it going there quickly. God. I don't like this unit. I don't like
So
this
I have a
unit
feeling
at
bad
all.
things will happen as a result of this build. Like the problem, I think that makes sense what you're saying about getting it over there. If you can retake Yeli with it, that is a nice advantage. But you have so little control over the seas, and it's so difficult. Like this was something we saw in Imp did with Bornu, right? It's so difficult to core centers on the sea. In the same way, it's really difficult to build centers in coastal provinces if you don't have any fleets to defend them, right?
But
If you don't
Salt
have
is my
anything.
friend. Salt isn't going in Western
Yep.
Black Sea. I don't have to worry. It'll be fine.
Oh boy.
We've already got 3 fleets between us, so we'll be okay.
On the plus side, it looks like no one built anything anywhere near you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lydia didn't build. Colchis didn't build. Lydia actually had to disband. Yeah, right? And then Salt didn't build anything up north. No, it was like, I got stronger and nobody else did. What a great year for me. And then all of these people are all in this giant mess. And I've, like, re-solidified my base over here in the west. I have 4 centers nice and safe and sound. And then I have this army and Fan.
Mhm.
Smile.
I do think you have done a very good job of getting back into a position where you have control of your HSCs.
Yeah, well, most of them. Still don't have Yeli, but Yeli doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
that's true.
And that was just because Lydia wanted the convoy back. Like, it was so much easier than it should have been. Right, I made all of these negotiations with Salt. I like spent all this time trying to make it happen, and then it just didn't.
Yeah.
Wasn't necessary at all.
Man, there's really no builds over here at all. Even in the bottom right of the map.
Yeah.
Like, I thought did Egypt not manage to take anything at all? There's like almost no builds on the map, full stop.
Yeah. So the total SC count changed, right? Carthage goes +2. Achaia goes +2. Colchis doesn't. Doric builds 1. Egypt builds 1.
But they didn't build it? Alright.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Egypt isn't +1 because Egypt already has 5 units on the board.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why that's saying +1 there, but whatever. Maybe this can't be trusted.
Well, this
Either way.
It's our best estimate that we have
Yeah.
of the board situation, because I'm not counting all these SCs.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. See this fleet build from Etruscan. This was good for me to see because it's very clearly going to be anti-Illyria. And so it's like, oh, cool. Illyria's not going to mess with me that much anymore. And not that Illyria really was going to do much because of this whole Ench thing, but
It's nice
Yeah.
taking away the potential.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Etruscan get too strong though, and like fleets are perfect because they're just going to take these coastal centers, whereas armies might like keep pushing and mess with me here. But the fleet to just conquer the Adriatic, wonderful. I love to see that. Cool. All right.
Alright.
Want to see some moves?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right.
Oh, he did convoy you.
He did
That's nice of
convoy
him.
me, and he moved into Eastern Black Sea, while ARAR moved out. So he just gets to take centers from Colchis.
Oh my god, that's so good for him.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Yep. So, this turn is where this was the most intense negotiation I had at any point in the game. After we see the results of these moves, retreats are a relevant thing here. So we see this fleet in Azov retreats into Kirky, not back to Yeli.
Oh, that's nice for you.
Yeah. That's great, because they're at war everywhere on the map, and so this unit being there is good. Yeah. So, this negotiation here, I look at this position on the board, and I'm like, huh. So, I had an initially offer from Salt to just get me convoyed straight into Fez. From Tira into Fez. That just seems pretty good. Like,
that seems really good.
Yeah. Goad can support Hold Western Black Sea, so it actually can't even be interrupted. It's just like, yeah, that just works. The thing was, I was dumb and wanted to get more centers off of Colchis if we went for this move. So I'm like, dude, you should just take something with your fleet, like take Riz or something, and I can hopefully take Sino via convoy, because like Colchis clearly can tell that they're not going to take Hera, and so they're not going to tap Hera again, presumably, because why would they? So you can support me into Sino. Sino's going to do something else. I'll take Sino. Doric takes Riz, and we're going to be okay. Great. That's the deal. That's the first deal I have with Doric. Okay? Why am I not just getting convoyed over to Fez? Whatever. It's dumb. It's fine. But I look at this position right now, and I think this is the time I finally got in control of the Western Black Sea. I want to flip the script, and I actually want to stab Salt. Colchis clearly can't work with Salt anymore. Clearly not. Surely, with Salt being in Eastern Black Sea, Colchis realizes that Salt is their enemy, and they should work with me against Salt. Right? So, I offer to support them from Azov into Kirky, and I say they should go and tap Share with Chris. And then they'll take Kirky from Azov, and they'll take Share, and then I'll take Yeli, and then we'll be fine. And the Doric threat will be neutralized, and everything's going to be okay, and I'll be friends with Colchis. I thought this was going to be fine. Does that seem like a reasonable thing?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you trust I love how now that we know that it's Salt's name just completely takes Doric out of the equation. It is now Salt. Salt supersedes any historical nations.
Sure.
But yeah, so if you think that convoy is actually going to be entered, I think I would enter it every time. Like, it's such a good place to get a unit to. I do get the idea of let's try and like consolidate power in this region by basically wiping out a really strong player from this area. But the way you're doing it isn't gaining you very much, right? You're giving most of it to
Colchis.
Colchis.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, as Colchis, I'd probably think this is a good deal for me.
Right?
But
yeah.
as you, I'm not sure I would go for it. At least unless you really don't trust Salt in this circumstance.
Well, here's the thing. Colchis didn't go for it.
Oh no.
I'm like trying to sell this deal to Colchis, and I just like pulling teeth. It is the hardest negotiation when I'm just like saying, yo, I'm giving you a center, right? We're attacking the person who just moved into Eastern Black Sea. You're clearly like, why not? But Colchis, it's like pulling teeth. It is impossible, and I realize Colchis just isn't going to go for this at all. And instead of going for the straight convoy into Fez, right, that would have just worked, guaranteed, given me a center, and everything would have been fine. Like, because I could have gone for the convoy into Fez and support Goad into Kirky, right? Like, I I should have just done that move tactically. It was just way worse. But I'm like, if we can take Sino, in my dream, right? We convoy into Sino, and then I can move Ruse into Audrey, and we can suddenly collapse on Lydia from Sino, Western Black Sea, build a fleet in Otis to take Bosphorus, and I can just start crushing Lydia really hard here. That's the dream. This is why I want to get this convoy into Sino and make things happen, instead of just getting convoyed into Fas. You'll see. This is not good diplomacy. Not play, not tactics. None of it's good. What I didn't know is that this exact turn, there's almost identical negotiations going on between Doric and Colchis. Right, so they're trying. All three of us are trying to sell the others out. And so it's just absolutely a chaotic mess. And so I am kind of glad that I didn't expect Salt to convoy me into Fas. I have no idea if he would or not, and that was part of why I wanted to be the one in Western Black Sea convoying me and myself. Also, at this point, I can make Lydia do whatever. Lydia is just taking orders from me supporting me into Western Black Sea. I didn't tell them the self-bounces are, but whatever. It's like I'm working closely with them, and they see what's up. So I'm pretty confident they'll support me into Sino here. So it feels like it's a more likely, it's going to happen, even though I'm not the one. But it was bad. I should have gone for the convoy into Fas, I think. But that deal was pulled off the table, and there's just absolutely tons of hectic negotiation here. What I learned, actually, we should see how the moves around the. I want to show you guys how the moves in this region actually went out, because
let's just wait one second on that. So, I do want to ask here. You said that there was equivalent negotiations going on between Salt and Colchis, right?
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
Is that before you try and make this stuff happen with Colchis, or is that after when Colchis maybe leaks that to Salt and tries to flip them?
I don't know the exact timing of things, but I do know that Colchis was trying to convince Salt to get out of here and was telling Salt that I was going to turn on them. But that's just standard diplomacy stuff. Oh no, your ally is going to stab you.
Because my thinking is, if that was happening before, there was no chance that convoy was ever happening, right? It does almost feel too good to be true to get convoyed into Fas, because it is something that, Salt can take that dot for themselves, and they're hyper powering up a corner power there. I don't know if they'd have gone for it, I think there's a good chance they were planning to not do that anyway.
There's a chance, but we'll never know. Is the answer if Salt would have gone for the convoy or not? It made sense. It seemed like it made sense to me, and it felt like Salt feels like they have such authority over me with their fleet and goad, that I kind of have to do what they want. So, and I have been doing what they want for most of this turn. But either way, it's fine. I don't know if that works or not. I don't know if that would have happened, but I try to convoy into Sino. It's rest of the map doing stuff.
We
Iberia
don't need
is
to
fighting.
focus too closely on the rest of the map if you really want to look at the top just now. Was there anything particularly interesting going on elsewhere this turn? Or
Just the colonial powers, Ionia, Achaea, and Doric are just still in this giant mess constantly, forever. And it looks like Carthage might actually make progress on them, right? Because there's this, right? It's like Carthage feels pretty solid, right? Has a ton of units in the area, so that's a menace that's looming. And relevant is Phoenicia getting pushed really hard by Achaea and Egypt down here. So it looks like Phoenicia's going to just get wiped off of this region of the map. Egypt's going to push north. And so Egypt is potentially a useful ally to have in the midterm, because they're going to start hitting Colchis from the south, but also a potential threat.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. The one thing I want to look at real quick, that convoy out of Greece, is that like Doric making up with Achaia? It certainly looks like it, because they don't move against Achaia anywhere else, right?
Yep.
They're just giving that back.
Yeah, it looks like that. But again, the negotiations between the colonial powers was just
So confusing.
so
Yeah.
it was because there was so many stabs, so many turns. Oh yeah, there was this Doric stab here. Doric is taking Eton and ELIS. And actually here, because of my negotiations with Phoenicia, I remember I was telling Egypt, yo, you got to deal with Doric. You can't kill Phoenicia because I know that Phoenicia's a friend and Egypt might not be. So like I want to keep my guaranteed friend. And I'm like, you need to
Yeah.
stop it. But oops, too late. And so now he can Doric is guaranteed to take Alexandria. It cannot be defended. And it
Is
took
that-
Eton.
That is a Doric army in the middle of Crete, right?
Yeah, it took
How is that? How is that there? I didn't see it getting convoyed in.
Yeah, it got
I guess we
convoyed
don't-
like a minute ago, and it wasn't. Yeah, it was a thing that I maybe should have
Okay.
highlighted more, but nah, it got
Well,
captured. It wasn't
that's
in the
super
Black
good
Sea.
for
We don't
Doric
care about
as
that.
well. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, all right. So shall we go ahead to the moves of the next turn then?
So we see the retreats. Again, there was this Ionian unit in Kirky. And so here we see tactics. And Colchis decides to go after me. To the surprise of everyone, I'm sure. They do tap Hera. They bounce me out of Yeli, right? And they don't take share. And they try to support Eastern Black Sea out. And Doric just takes Riz.
Right. So
Yeah.
what I'm like, okay, so it looks like they had made an agreement with Salt to move against you together, right? Given that failed support from
Yep.
the Eastern Black Sea into the Western Black Sea. You'd offered to support their unit in Azov into Kirky, right?
I did, yeah.
Had they just outright rejected that?
No,
No?
they said
Alright.
yes, but you I don't know. You've had those negotiations, I'm sure, where you make a deal with someone, but like they act super negatively to it. They like seem to resent you the entire conversation, and then you realize they're full of it when they agree.
Yeah.
Right. You've had those. You've seen it, and so it's like, okay, this isn't going to happen. I desperately want it to happen, though. I switch on these order sets, supporting Azov into Kirky versus Goad into Kirky like 5 times, because I want it to be true, against my better judgment, and then I end up doing the right thing here and keep working with Salt. And Salt is happy to go with me, right? Salt re-gets Kirky and gets Riz, and everything's happy. As part of the negotiations is the fallout of this turn when I talked to Colchis. Colchis says an enlightening thing to me, which was that Colchis views my existence in the East as an existential threat, and therefore was never considering working with me.
Ooh.
And it was just like, all right, cool, thanks for telling me that. I guess I'm gonna have to kill you now.
I have absolutely been in situations like that in games, right? Where you get assigned Turkey in the standard dip, for example, and there's someone adjacent to you who goes, for example, Austria. The Austria-Turkey alliance can never work. I'm going to kill you 100%, doesn't matter what the press says. That is a painful neighbor to have.
Yeah. And the tilting part is it doesn't feel like we have to kill each other. Like, hey, Colchis has been moving south a lot. Right? Like, it's totally fine. I don't have to build more units over here. Like, if I had Yeli for most of this game, I don't have to get more units out here. Like, I can do other stuff. We can work together. But once Colchis told me that they viewed my existence over here as an existential threat, it's like, alright, I guess I'll be one now.
So I see the logic behind it, right? If you have 2 armies in this area in particular, you have the potential for a really devastating stab on them, especially with how mid is connected to one of their home centers over there. That you can essentially oust them out of their home centers in the same way that you got ousted out of your home centers earlier on. I think you could resolve that through negotiation, just having one army in this area, for example.
Sure.
Yeah, there are certainly ways you could have worked together here.
Yep, I agree. But after hearing this, that's off the table now. And then it was like Colchis was explaining to me how devastating KUBN was to them, right? And it's like, oh my god, if you move into KUBN, I die, right? And I'm like, yeah, but like I haven't moved into KUBN, right? I bounced you out of it once, but like I don't want to kill you. I don't want to go to war with you. I want to retake my home center. Like this is my goal here.
But
But
the question is whether they believe that you'll continue to do that or not, right?
yeah, but like, nah, they clearly, and so I realized, all right, it's war it is then. And so I'm fully reliant on working with Salt. All in on Salt.
Yeah, that's never a position you really want to be in. I do want to ask here, you said that Lydia was basically taking orders from you at this point.
Yep.
Does that include that move into Byzantium?
Yep.
Yeah, and that was a stab on Doric, on Salt?
Honestly, I don't sure what Lydia's relationships were like with Salt at this point, but it was like, look, Salt wasn't defending Byzantium. You're in Bosphorus. Like, how can you not take it?
Mm-hmm. Because I was under the impression the three of you had like a triple alliance going, essentially. But
yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, no, not. I mean, maybe a little bit. My understanding was that Salt and Lydia were never friendly. That Salt and Lydia just did not get along. And so because they're both like working with me, I'm like getting them to not kill each other. And Salt has other priorities like cleaning up Ionia over here, stuff like this. So yeah, but I don't think this, like, I suspect this dot isn't that big of a deal. And like part of the thing about working with Salt is that he understands he's got 17 centers, right? Losing one dot in Byzantium is not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And it's way worse to have an enemy in Lydia and like have to attack them and fight them the whole time than it is to just concede a dot. Like, trying to burn bridges over Byzantium isn't great. And I, of course, love it because now it's in Byzantium, not taking ODES, and like, that's getting out of the way. And again, if you think about the high level of what I was talking about on the previous turn, right? If I get this convoy into Sino and it works, I'm in Audrey, you'll notice I'm next to Byzantium, which is now Lydia's, so I can like potentially get all of these Northern Lydian centers in the next year is going to be my plan, right? Just peace out with Colchis, right? And then be done and start collapsing on Lydia. But that doesn't happen, obviously, because I lose Fan, I don't get Yelly, I support Salt into Kirky instead of taking Yelly myself, so I'm actually down one this year.
Yeah, and like, I now doubly see why you hated the fact that you made that build, because I think without that build, Colchis doesn't have as much reason to be scared of you as well, right? The fact that you're in Ukraine with the Second Army is what provides the pressure against them. And in this situation, I think even if they had just worked against you, you said earlier, right, if you lose Fan over next to Sevastopol there, then you have the ability to just disband that army and say, I'm not contesting this region anymore. And if you do that, you're probably good with Colchis from then on. But the fact you're in Ukraine means you can't just do that now, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the fleet build would have made this whole thing go a lot better from a diplomatic perspective.
Yep.
God.
Yeah. But I didn't.
Well,
yep.
Certainly an interesting diplomacy phase.
Yeah. This year was just so much. Ugh. If you look down here, we actually see that Egypt hard pulls back to go and deal with Colchis, or Doric. Excuse me. I got those names mixed up probably 50 times in this game.
Is that
Doric,
why you're calling Doric Salt now?
yeah, calling Doric Colchis or Colchis Doric. I just could not keep those names straight. Yeah. So here was a really confusing move to me. I don't understand why Salt didn't convoy into Alex and convoyed into UEGY instead. Turned out that was a misorder. Like, we just
Oh.
meant to convoy into Alex and didn't realize that. I don't understand how you misorder that, because you misorder it with both. But
Yeah.
whatever. It's a variant, and
It's,
sometimes things are going to be weird. But it's very significant, because it's not a supply center, right? Alex is, like, yeah, gives Egypt time to react effectively. And part of what happened in the East, right, is that Achaia backed out here. I think this was part of a deal where, like, they would peace out or something, and then Phoenicia just, like, stabs Achaia in the East to not do that. But this gets Phoenicia back, like, it's solid again, right? You've got 3 armies in this nice line over here. Sorry, that's not a Phoenician army. That's a...
Oh, that's
Colchis
the
army.
Colchis
Yeah, it's
army.
on
Okay.
Aleppo.
So
Well,
they're still
even
in a
still.
bit of a tenuous situation, but it's less tenuous because Egypt is off their back. That's the primary thing, right? I was like really hoping that Cyprus wouldn't be relevant on this time because I cannot tell what the hell is going on. There's so many fleets in a tiny space.
Yeah. So Telm is supporting Galx into Gant, and whatever this fleet is doing, it's not supporting Galx into here. I don't know why it didn't. Like, I would assume they would have taken that center and then used PAF to cover Caire, and then let this
Egypt's
fleet back
go,
into there, right? Because, like, you take a dot, C dot, take dot, don't let him retreat. But he didn't do that? I don't know.
It says that Achaia and Egypt were not coordinating very well, right? The fact that they bounced there, because that's vital to get one of the two in, and they're both moving against the same person. So
yeah, it does look like Achaia is moving against it. Yeah, that's almost certainly what it was. They just, like, didn't talk to each other about it. Because you see Achaia does take Mega, but maybe that's just, it's taking the one they previously had. Dude, I don't know, man. Because they were flipping so many times this game. Like, and there were so many, like, minor dotting stabs, mostly by Salt. Yeah. No, it was complete chaos. I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. I had my friend, my best buddy in the world, Salt. And nothing ever bad happens to you when you trust Salt. Please ignore everyone else on the map. And Phoenicia. Phoenicia's a great buddy, and I desperately want him to be successful. Like, because I was doing terribly at the start, and he was consoling me, and then he was having a bad place, and I was like, "You got this. We're gonna do well." And he's like, "Yeah, we'll be the comeback kids and stuff." And I was like, "Well, I have to come back for that to be a thing." I'm doing a good job at the doing poorly, which is an integral part of the comeback kid story. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, actually, even like relationships aside, you really want Phoenicia to be doing well in this situation because they can help you against Colchis, and you need help against Colchis, right?
Oh yeah. Because Colchis is on like 1 million units, right?
Yeah, and they're a kind of corner power.
Yeah, they're I think more of a corner power than me, despite Yeli.
Well, the fact you don't have Yeli is
yeah, that's a big deal. But no, Colchis is really strong, remarkably defensible. Like, them letting Colchis just walk into Eastern Black Sea was so brutal for them strategically. Like, I
mean, Doric, yeah.
Letting Salt into Eastern Black Sea, not good. Letting Salt in Western Black Sea, very good to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about this phase?
I think one of the things that I should have mentioned earlier was when Salt took Thess, I was really happy because Thessalonia could have been built on by Ionia, who like obviously wasn't friendly with me, and if they were trying to like mess with me in the north, that could have been fine. But instead, Salt took it like I think it was a year ago or something, and obviously we're friends, which is why I covered Audrey just in case he wanted to dot me. Yep. But yeah, okay, that was the thing I wanted to mention. But yeah, let's go to see retreats and then next moves.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Ionia disbands the fleet here rather than retreating into anything and doing chaos and being annoying. And we can see
I think you almost
builds.
want them to retreat it there.
Oh, it would have been great.
They retreated,
Oh yeah,
then
I
it
would have
just
loved it.
harasses Kulkus, right?
Yeah, but like Colchis didn't really mess with them. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's fine. I supported them into here. I understand. This unit doesn't do very much for Ionia. It's just annoying, really. And I am perfectly content to have this fight be just a three-way between me, Doric, and Colchis. Adding on an extra thing that can be annoying is just I don't want to deal with that. I hate those types of fights. All right. So what am I supposed to disband?
That's a tough one. It feels like so. You could disband something in the east, right, and then hope to peace out Kulkus. But the fact that they've said that your existence is an existential threat to them, maybe doesn't allow that.
Yep.
I don't know. Actually, I'd still be tempted to do it. I feel like if you take off, Maio, Maio,
Yeah.
then you can move Ukraine back, and then you just hope, hey, he's now not, or they're not going to be angry at me anymore. They'll be happy with the fact I'm in a completely different region, and I can just like consolidate over there and hope to gain stuff. But Yeli is your immediate expansion, and if you do want to go to war with Kulkus, you need to keep those units on. So then what comes off? Is it Tira? No, you want to convoy that? Is it Audrey? Feels like it's Audrey.
Yeah, it's Audrey. And
but
man, look at those
backline
centers,
is
man.
so exposed.
Look at those dots. Yep, I went with Audrey. It wasn't Western Black Sea.
Yeah, okay, yes, I mean...
It wasn't that one.
I'm very glad of that. That was not what I even considered.
Yep. Alright.
Okay, so that comes off... did the sea change colour?
Yeah, this is around when I think the person was like, oh, wait a minute, you're gonna do a recording of this probably. Let's, like, make the map look different.
Oh, okay.
So it's, yeah. Colors are slightly off now.
It's an interesting look. I think I tend to like a cleaner, like, more uniform colour map. But I do get the like for just making it look a little more interesting. Right?
Yep. Yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah. So I'm glad I wasn't seeing things there. I do notice assault build in Chert.
That's wonderful. You love to see it. That's a friendly fleet, CaptainMeme, and you see that Kolkas built another fleet. So if we don't build that fleet, we're only even on the naval count, and we need naval superiority. And remember, that fleet, salt fleets are friendly fleets.
I see. Yes,
we're
indeed.
Happy about this.
Right. Okay. So, what will happen from this situation? I mean, Salt isn't really in a position to take your backline. At least not your... Oh, no, he is in a position to take your backline.
What?
Oh, my God.
No, he's not. What?
Oh,
no.
my God, that's so bad.
No, he would never. He would never do that.
He's got the fleet adjacent to MAEG as well.
What? No way. What? No.
Okay,
No.
I can see where this is going.
No. Salt would never do that. Why? He wouldn't.
You realize I have to... If this does happen, which I assume it will, I will be ribbing you just as much as you were ribbing me through Imperial for not trusting Salt.
Would I deserve it? Maybe. But no, why would he do that? Why would he do something like that? That's crazy. It's only like 3 dots.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah, this is why the Audrey disband is not a good disband.
Yep, but what was a better disband?
I think you had to take... So...
Yeah, I think it had to be Tira.
If you're continuing this, I actually think that the best disband in this situation is MAIO, and try and peace out Kulkas.
I don't think that's...
That is...
You weren't handling the negotiations. You didn't... The press, it was not possible.
Okay, then it has to be Tira.
Yeah, working with Kolkis was impossible at this point in the game. Just categorically could not happen. And that's what unfortunately happens sometimes in diplomacy. It's like the best strategic play in my position would be to work with Colchis, but you have to play the player, not the board, sometimes. And here, I could not work with Colchis. So, yep, I did this.
Alright.
And, hey, I was already all in on Salt. Well, just like, there's no more all in I can be. Salt would never stab me.
You just commentated an entire game where you watched Salt stab person after person after person.
Oh, and I'm playing this game where he's stabbing person after person after person. Yup, but he would never stab me.
Oh my god.
Wanna see the moves?
Yes, let's see the moves.
He doesn't stab me.
Oh my god, he doesn't stab you. Okay. I feel like I have been tricked by your commentating here. I was about to go into a whole, oh, I'm so superior. I saw this Salt stab coming when you did not. But no, he didn't go for it. What?
He didn't go for it. It's a Christmas miracle. He has dots that he can get elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
And so his units are trying. He's consolidating this area of the Aegean Sea. We're talking about moving on to Lydia pretty soon. And like this Olympus Lari bounce has been happening all the time, so it's really quite scary. And yeah, so
I see.
Yep, we're fine. I promise. He's not gonna. Why would he stab me? Jeez, that'd be so rude. Yeah, God. No, I wouldn't.
I've been deceived. But yeah, so I do see that Lydia, like, this is the downside if you're playing. So I think sometimes, I don't know if Lydia is a newer player or maybe an inexperienced player or something, given the initial self-bounce and stuff, and the trusting you. It can be very easy to get into the groove of, this person is very experienced, they're my friend, therefore I will do whatever they tell me. People very rarely have your best interests at heart when they are telling you what to do like that.
But I'm saving Lydia.
For what advantages themselves. And I have a feeling you are about to convoy into their home supply centers.
You are a paranoid freak, CaptainMeme. I would never... like, actually, I wouldn't do that. I need Lydia to help me against Colchis.
Okay.
And so I actually just can't stab them here.
So how many years are you going to wait until you convoy into their home supply centers?
You'll see. We'll see.
Okay. Sure. I guess you are getting the gain in Yelly at the moment, which is nice for you. Yeah, you've got some growth. And, oh, is this the point at which you just say, I am never expanding far enough for this core to be useful? Oh, you can't do it anymore because it has to be in a winter phase. But, like, I feel like this would have been a good time to core Audrey or Ruse, so that you could build there in this coming year, because you know that you have no units there right now.
Sure.
But maybe that makes Salt jump on you. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. I didn't consider coring Audrey at this point. No, I'm still very focused on the Black Sea locally here. So that's my priority at the moment, and to not think about building to defend this stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, Salt doesn't stab me. We make tons of progress against Colchis. We organize it so that Sino gets popped, which is wonderful. Yeah, good progress gets made. Here I'm trying to negotiate and coordinate between Lydia and Phoenicia to have them take Cain and Aleppo. I want the gains to go to Lydia because Lydia is doing my thing. I sort of assume Lydia is going to take Telm at some point here. Like in the fall of this turn, but that's not a thing that actually happens. I don't know why.
Right. I do see Phoenicia isn't actually getting into a position that they can very easily work with you against Colchis.
Yeah, they have to stay alive.
They move out of the center that they need to defend in Tarsus, I guess.
Yep.
So they can't help you, because if they help you, then the enemy retreats into their supply center.
Yep. That's what I'm trying to navigate to get it to a position where Phoenicia can actually help me, which requires them to be a little bit more stable. So,
Mhm.
yep.
Right. Well, that's a lot of holds on the Iberian front, I just noticed. Is
Yeah,
Iberia, like,
Iberia
NMR in
Enemard here. Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really was a sad thing, because, like, Iberia's position is still very strong, right? They have 6 units in a corner, and, like, if they make moves, like, attack anything, they sort of get there. Like, I don't know. It was sad to see this NMR, but,
yeah. I also noticed Carthage's position is really good. Like, all over there. They're just expanding out of that single area in all directions right now, right?
yeah, they did get kicked out of this dot in
Oh,
Sicily.
they got kicked out of Sicily. Okay.
Yeah, but they still
Um,
took Medi, and, like, yeah, it still looks pretty good. I had Carthage as my favorite to do really well after this Iberia NMR. Because I thought that Iberia would be keeping Carthage in check, and as Iberia pushes east, Carthage is going to have to deal with it. But once that doesn't happen anymore, I thought Carthage had such a strong position.
mhm. Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else to talk about here, but I think it's just a case of Doric dominating in the middle. Well, in like the Greece area, uh, and not much going on in general. In fact, has Achaia properly truced out with Doric now? It looks like they have.
It looks like they've finally become well and truly peaceful and friendly, and everything's great.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what
They're
happens when you
actually
trust
working
Salt.
with Ionia as well. All three of them are working together.
Yep.
Well, Ionia is maybe not working with Salt. That.
Yep.
But wait, then why is Achaia going west from Cyprus? I'm confused. Maybe they're attempting to attack the Egyptians, in which case it makes sense why Egypt bounced them last turn. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, trying to figure out what the colonials are thinking on each and every turn is just such a pain.
Yep. You need to have a commentator playing as a colonial for that to happen. Which hopefully will happen in the next edition of Imperial Diplomacy. We'll see.
Oh god.
So, yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? Or shall we move on?
I think let's move.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Retreats. Pop.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything relevant to you, right?
Yeah. Oh, I missed that Doric got into SSIC here. I forgot about that. That's obviously super relevant
ouch.
because it pops this fleet.
Yes. That
Cute.
does make Carthage a little less strong.
Alright.
Alright, so, things happening here.
Tactics.
Yeah, it does appear that you saved Salt's SC in Colchis. Colchis is having a really hard time of it right now. Yeah, I think, did you call them Illyria? I forget. Lydia, even, is attempting to attack Phosphorus? No, they were, Phosphorus, my mind is gone. The Phoenicia, even,
Yeah.
in Tlem, or Telm.
Yeah. Well, notably, this was a Lydia core center, right? So
Oh,
it's
fair enough.
recapturing a home SC, but still is taking a dot. Would be taking a dot from Phoenicia, but bounced out with Achaia.
Yes. So this attempt you had of coordinating Phoenicia and Lydia doesn't seem to be happening, but it doesn't
Nope.
matter that much.
Because Lydia's still pushing, right? Lydia's in Medi now, right? The tactics here were just perfect counter to this move, right? Cut support, get into Medi.
Yep, and notably for you, Lydia has nothing near their centres that are near you. Nothing in Byzantium, nothing in Chalcus, nothing even adjacent to either of them now. Although I guess they get a build, so...
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's great. We love it.
And I think you have become an existential threat to Colchis now, because you moved into KUBM.
Yep. I have proved Colchis correct. / Colchis proved themselves correct. Because, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Once they told me I'm gonna kill them, I'm like, alright, I'll kill ya. Got it. Done.
So I noticed, to avoid confusion reasons here, I think the GM started labeling retreat locations on the current map right before retreats, potential retreat locations.
Yeah.
So that's why there are 3 arrows coming out of that province at the very top left.
Yeah. On
Yeah.
this turn, they showed a bunch of possible retreats here.
Yes. So just to avoid confusion there, the ones with the white, the arrows with the white ends are retreat locations. They are not orders. Or possible retreat locations, even.
Yes.
So... Do you want to look at anything specific?
This turn is really the next phase of the game, right? Like it was the early game was like trying to get stable allies, trying to figure out where my feet are under me, re-solidifying my west, and then like, okay, am I going to work with Colchis or not? And now we have the part of the game where it's just, all right, let's actually try to kill Colchis. And moving into KBN is pretty effective at that.
Yep. Absolutely. So, shall we just move ahead? Is there anything else you want to look at?
Carthage gets pushed back really hard here. I don't really understand exactly how the tactics worked out so poorly for Carthage around here, because the position just looked really solid. I didn't look at the tactics at all, but I just kept checking turn after turn and like, hey, how'd Doric get into these locations? How'd Doric took Medi and forced the disband and stuff. Or no, it didn't force the disband, but I didn't really understand how the tactics went so poorly here. But Carthage just getting walloped, and there's this convoy into
that convoy is genius. It couldn't be stopped. It's not into a supply center, so it's not gaining anything immediately, but it gains so much position. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's big. But yeah, that was a big deal, and then Egypt is in a fight for their life, and Phoenicia managed to get some level of stability over here, right? Like, a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, I do notice that Ionia is being knocked out of Nax in the middle there, the island between Turkey and Crete. But at the same time, they looked like they were working with Doric on the other side in the Sicily area. Like it looks like they were offered a convoy. I don't know. Maybe they just weren't expecting that convoy to go.
Yeah.
Again, it's like a case of, do we know what the colonials are thinking? Not really.
Not really. I do get the sense that Ionia getting Sicily and all of the dots here was a relevant thing. My understanding was that Doric was saying, hey, I want to start consolidating more of Greece under my control, and I'll cede your stuff in Sicily. I think that was part of it, but I think Ionia's just high-level strategy was more focused on consolidating the West, building units over here, and just having a power base in this region. And executes... last turn, there was a really brutal convoy into Rome that I didn't talk about, which just completely destroyed the Etruscans. They're just all dead now.
Yeah. I was actually looking at that convoy in Sardinia and wondering what on earth is going on there. Phoenicia getting convoyed from Olby even to Salt.
Yeah, so this one is... It's like... They're both currently... Ionian dots, but this is the Ionian core. So I think and that's the Phoenician core. So it's like, hey, let's still take a dot. Like, you'll still get your dot, and you'll get your own core back, which is more useful for you. But this way, Ionia can still build. And you see Ionia is getting, like, plus a lot. So I think they actually need all of the dots, all of the buildable locations they can.
That makes sense. All right. So, shall we move ahead then?
Yeah, just some fun tactic stuff. Alright, there were some retreats. This unit went off the board, which was weird. But I guess it's fall, so he knew he was disbanding something. Builds.
Oh my god. It came off the board so that they could rebuild in Faz over on the right there.
Because it's fall.
Yeah.
Yep. I have another fleet. Oh my
Whoa.
god. I have 2 fleets. The second one should have come so much sooner. But it's fine. It's fine.
I am noting here, your win condition is how much?
25.
You are on 5.
Yep. It's
All right.
okay. Salt is only at 19. Look, I only have to get 20 centers. Salt has to get 23.
Yeah. So you basically have the same like to go to victory. Oh, that is so misleading. Yeah, Salt is much closer.
What? No. No way. Not at all.
Alright, so you have a second fleet. What are you going to do with the second fleet?
Try to kill Colchis.
How are you going to use the fleet to do that?
Probably just, like, move somewhere. Get supported into one of these places, and then, like... Yeah.
Just surround that area? Are you
Yeah.
going to allow Salt to keep the fleet adjacent to your HS seeds over there in Goad?
What else am I supposed to do?
You could offer Salt support from Cher into Chris and say, hey,
It's
please
not
backfill
guaranteed.
Cher with that.
East Black Sea can
Yeah.
cut West Black Sea. The only guaranteed move is Riz supports West Black Sea to East Black Sea. Share cuts Riz.
Yeah, but sometimes you go, it's okay, we'll go with the less guaranteed move so that you're not adjacent to my home supply centers anymore.
Nope. Optimal tactics. Kill Colchis. #1 priority. Salt is a friend.
Okay, in that case, what you should do is ask Salt to convoy Tyra into Kryn.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
He said yes, actually.
Okay.
But then we were looking at the tactics, and here was a thing that got a little bit odd, where, yes, me getting into Crimea increases the pressure on Colchis by a lot, and it will help me take Theo. The concern, though, is if I have, like... Okay, let's flip the situation, okay? Let's pretend that I was Doric with these 2 dots, and Salt was asking you to convoy into Crimea.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Right?
Yeah.
Salt is going to stab you there. Right? And it's like, I don't want to have that much tension over here. It's fine. Like, my unit's not that optimal. But I was like, you know what? It actually is such a big deal. I'm like, I know I'm not going to stab. So you should do it anyways. But there was a lot of hectic on this. And you can see if the convoy happens or not. It does not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, so you did ask for this convoy, but he
Yep.
just didn't do it.
I asked for the convoy, and then he said yes, and then we were like, is this actually a good idea? I'm not sure. It's tough. It flipped. I got concerns, and then I voiced the concerns, and it's unclear. We did agree to it at the end, but he didn't do it. So I don't know if it was a real stab or if it was whatever, but I'm not worried about it. It's fine. It's a reasonable thing to stab about. The much more concerning thing to me was Lydia's moves.
Yes, I did just notice that.
And you're like, huh? That's not what I asked you to do, Lydia. You're not allowed to do that. You only can do the moves I say, which is move all of your units away from me. But I think Lydia got scared of the fleet and Odious, obviously. If I had stabbed Lydia and gone into Bosphorus, which of course I'd considered, I could have potentially taken a lot of centers, and like this army in Tira that's been sitting there for the entire game wasn't doing anything, and it was like, oh, maybe I should have convoyed it somewhere. But I didn't, and so I think Lydia here got a little scared. Also, it's at this point in the game that Lydia and Phoenicia start talking to each other, and Phoenicia starts being the one to tell us Lydia what to do, not me. So that was very sad. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I was gonna say, your efforts to get those two to work together has finally succeeded, but I guess...
I don't think it
that's
was
not
mine. I think it was
necessarily a good
Phoenicia,
thing.
yeah. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Look, they're working together against Colchis. That's everything we ever wanted. I have a goal. It is kill Colchis. The only relevant part of the game.
There is a point at which you can hyper-focus on a thing, you know? But no, I think it's kind of reasonable to keep killing Colchis here. You can gain a fair bit more in these regions. But yeah, the pink moves back are problematic, to say the least.
Yep. Also,
yeah.
Etruscan moved into Siggy. Come on, man. Right when I'm finally making progress in the east, me leaving these two centers undefended for the entire game finally bites me in the butt.
Wait, isn't this... No, this is a spring phase, so they are
This
going
is
to take it.
spring. They can
I
take
love that
Ruse
you
in
were
the fall.
concerned about this happening with Illyria earlier, and Illyria have just been sitting there not doing anything, and it's eventually the other player who goes for it.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Ouch.
They are refugees fleeing
Yeah.
from the Ionians, I see.
So here was a frustrating thing where if Salt had communicated that he wasn't going to convoy, I'd been fine. I understand. I would have just moved back and been able to actually cover Ruse, because that's where it would have gone. But that didn't happen. So grumble, grumble, grumble.
Yeah. Well, on the plus side, you are currently in Eastern Black Sea.
Yeah,
so
I'm in
you're
Eastern
making a
Black
little bit of
Sea
progress.
and in KUBN. So it's just yeah, the tactical position for Colchis is really bad. Colchis is already losing Aleppo. The only
Yes.
center that Colchis can retake is Riz, which I'm fine with. Go for it.
I think they can actually keep you from getting anything this year, if they really wanted to, with the units that they still have in the area, but it's, yeah.
When I looked at this, there was guesswork involved in thoughts. I didn't think they had a true guaranteed defense with this self-bounce and fast. Like, I don't,
Well, they're retreating into Hams, right, and into
Yeah.
Arar at the same time.
Yep.
So Hams will cut Eastern Black Sea, so you have to go in with... Oh no, you can convoy. I forgot about that. So... Yeah, it probably is guesswork, actually, come to think of it. I'm thinking you could go Arar support hold Faz, Faz support Kuban to... no, it's Faz support Chris to... Nace? Does that work? I think that protects... Oh no, because Salt can cut Arar. Okay, never mind.
also fan.
Yes, oh, you have two adjacent to that. Because of your existential threat unit.
Yep, because of Kuban, right? Kuban it's a really good unit if you're trying to kill Colchis. Good place to be.
Yeah. Alright, so the retreats happen. Those are the correct retreats for Colchis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we wanted to check any other moves,
Oh, right, yes.
just
I mean, Ionian seems to be steamrolling that area.
yeah, Ione just absolutely annihilated Etruscan. Etruscan did not put up a fight. So Ionia
And
is
Carthage
big in the
is
west.
getting brutalized. Although that convoy that I said was going to be crucial, they just end up getting blown up. So.
Yeah, but it wasted a lot of time. Right, it took a bunch of units to kill it. So
That is true. Right. Yeah. I don't.
and this army
see-
pushing,
Oh,
there's enough pressure. Carthage is going to explode from here.
Egypt's also getting absolutely crushed.
Yeah,
here.
because Achaia and Doric are coordinating here. So
Ooh, the
very sad.
convoy into Cyprus is actually really
the
important.
second convoy.
Yeah, because there's two armies there now. There is no way Achaia can keep those supply centers.
Yep.
I mean, they kind of can, because they still have a lot of fleets in the area, but it's going to be like hanging on to just the leftmost one.
Yep. It's very annoying for Achaia here. So, and these are the last cores that Achaia has in the east. So if these get taken, Achaia can't exist in the east, really. Which is pretty
Yeah.
sweet.
Alright, well, shall we move ahead?
Let's do it. Doop, there's the retreat. And things work.
Nice. Well
I
done.
guess right.
Oh, you also guessed that they're going for your HSC up there.
Yep.
That's a good guess.
I guessed right.
Nicely done on that.
Yeah, it really just boiled down to, like, what do I think Chris is doing? Because if Chris is tapping KUBN, I want to tap Fan. And if Chris isn't tapping Fan, then whatever. And I just was very confident Aesop was tapping Yeli, so this worked out. And then, yeah, Colchis takes Riz. But Colchis takes Riz, and because I took Eastern Black Sea from it instead of convoying, there's now an open sea space to retreat to. It also meant Western Black Sea was safe to support Cher into Chris, if that ended up not being necessary. So yeah, This turn was great. This turn caused much celebration when I saw this phase, because this guesswork, this was such a big deal, because Colchis has been broken from here, right? Colchis is not, right? We just separated. He's been split completely in half now. He's got 2 units isolated up in the north, and he's got some units isolated in the south, but, like, I got pressure on Faz, Riz is going to fall. Yeah. It's just great.
Yeah, and I note that Lydia came back to defend against you, saw that that you weren't moving against them, and then just stopped moving in that direction.
And then didn't move any of their units this turn, yes.
Yeah, they did defend Mighty, whatever MYT, the island against...
yeah, they made moves, but none of their units changed locations.
Yes. Well, it's better than them running into Byzantium and coming for you, right?
Oh god, this is great. No, I'm very happy with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after seeing that I was going to lose Ruse, I was tempted to just sell Lydia to take Audrey and then support me into Ruse, because, hey, keep friends happy. But I decided against it. I wanted to save Audrey to sell it later.
Mm-hmm. I am seeing a really interesting move that doesn't really concern you at all. Tars down south, the Egyptian unit that managed to slip into a Phoenician center, right? Just in the south of Turkey there, supporting Phoenicia west. So this is something that I think you saw in the Imperial video, because you said Phoenicia is Tyler, right?
Yep.
He was the player who managed to gather like an absolute horde of vassals to carry him over the line at the end. And he does this really well, I think, if working on someone who's been weakened quite a lot, to work with them and going, hey, okay, it's fine, you can take that, we'll be friends again. And I think he's going to do fairly well out of aligning with Egypt here, even though it's against a stronger power. Yeah, it certainly consolidated that area for him.
Good analysis for sure, right? And like you saw how terrible Phoenicia's position looked like 2 years ago, right? And now really Phoenicia's gaining Aleppo and Cain in the region. Sure, losing Telm and Tars, but that's fine. We also secured all of Cyprus, so it's like, cool.
So you are becoming the comeback kids, indeed.
We are. Although I'm still not building.
Yes, because of that one red unit over there.
But at least Colchis has been broken, right? So from here, it's inevitable. It's just how quickly and who gets what.
Yes. Although you can't really do anything about that red unit, right? You don't have any builds to go in that direction with. If you're gonna get you can't even defend Audrey, really, except by the method of I'll just tap Ruse, and then if they go for Audrey, I'll get in.
Yep.
Actually, you're really hoping they do go to Audrey, because then you can ask Doric for support into that place as well.
Yep.
Whereas Ruse, you cannot do anything about.
So here with this Doric stab also on Lydia, it solidified, hey, Lydia is friends with me, not Doric. That's wonderful. And here the joke was, if we get Etruscans to move into Audrey, we then force the retreat from Audrey, and they retreat into Byzantium.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
All right.
This turn felt good. I was really happy about this one. And it was just a guess, right?
I'm gonna feel so bad if Salt never stabs you in this game, and I am, like, constantly heralding doom without any doom happening. I demand doom!
Well, we'll have to see.
Alright, go ahead. Let's have a look at the next one.
Here's retreats. Salt in Eastern Black Sea. Colchis minus a ton. Boop ba-doop. Builds! I don't build anything.
No builds. Yeah.
Lydia doesn't build anything. Phoenicia builds a fleet here. Salt builds some more. He's only at 20. We're fine.
Phoenicia's managed to take full control of Cyprus. Like, that's how... Oh, and Sardinia. Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, just
and they got
really
their centers back here. Like, Carthage just gave it back. Don't understand how that happened, but whatever, it did.
Oh wait, has Iberia come back in the meantime? 'Cause
Yeah,
they appear
Iberia
to
didn't
have
leave the game,
gone
period. Iberia just NMR'd for one turn.
Okay, I wasn't really looking over there in the
Yeah,
previous
it
ones.
doesn't really matter. It's Iberia. Who cares?
Okay. So,
One of
right.
the cool things about this turn, if you look at the supply center count, Phoenicia built 3, and then Doric built 1, and nobody else built anything. So to be the only person on the map in an 11-person game and going +3 that year is pretty crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Really nice turn from them. And they had enough home centers to build on all of them.
Yep. Keeping solid in the west again, and also like their eastern holdings look safe now, because Egypt isn't hitting them, Colchis is getting pushed back, and they're at peace with Lydia. So, yeah.
Alright.
So some negotiations around here. At this point, like, I'm talking with Doric and Phoenicia and being like, alright, so we're gonna kill Lydia after Colchis is dead, right? We're all on board with this, and we're all like, alright, great, yeah, we'll figure out the exact split later. But we're gonna just crush Lydia just after Colchis is dead. And Colchis should die pretty soon, so Lydia's gonna get exploded on. So just keep that in your mind when you're looking at how our maneuvering goes. Want to see some moves?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Boop.
Alright. So, you are just... I'm just looking around to see if there's anything particularly interesting happening here. It appears that you are killing Kulka still, so...
Sticking to the plan.
I do think Lydia leaving MYT completely open is an interesting gamble that works out here.
Yeah.
Did they have some agreement, or was that just a guess?
I think this is just guessing.
Well, good guesswork from them, and I see Phoenicia convoying over to prepare for that stab.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Tactics. This move from Aleppo into ARAR is... I've been begging Phoenicia to please get me a unit in mid or ARAR. Please support me at the Faz for the love of God. And finally, Phoenicia says yes. Fine. Because you've been talking about being the best of friends. Now we're going to work together this whole game. And we haven't been able to do anything with each other. We've been like coordinating about Lydia, and like we've been planning for the future, but can we actually finally work together? Will we make progress, CaptainMeme, or will Tyler instead prop up the small nation and keep him alive?
I think in this, the fact that you said that after the game, he said that you were the best negotiator and whatnot, I think that he's gonna help you.
Yeah, he helps me.
Yeah. Because also, the way you talked about the Colchis player, I don't think that's the kind of player who accepts vassalization. Although I might be mistaken on that. That's a big assumption to make about someone.
Yeah, it's, I do know that I looked at their press channel after the fact, and, like, they hadn't talked for days. By the time Aleppo moves into ARAR. And the press there was pretty harsh as well. So... Yeah, looking back on it makes perfect sense, but I was just like, I was sitting here being like, please don't just use Colchis the way that you used Egypt. Please, please, please. And it makes sense, because Egypt was a much more active player. Like, I was talking to Egypt, somewhat. Obviously, nothing I could do except say, hey, be careful of salt. And then he was like, dude, what do you look, what's coming from you? And I'm like, alright, fair. But, like, still, it's different, I promise. And I was right. Yeah. But yeah, coming from me, telling other people on the board to be careful of salt is just so rich. Yeah. So yeah, we have tactics, and so like and things are really safe, right? Like I'm just secure because we're in Chris and Crimea, so like Fan isn't gonna die. I have this the way the tactics work out. We can like. I'll explain the tactical moves that I make next turn, actually, because they're pretty interesting. Boop boop. So we go.
I'm just looking elsewhere on the map. I actually It looks like there's Ionia Achaea working against Doric again. Is that right? Oh no, sorry, no. Ionia is stabbing Achaea hard. Achaea is working against Doric.
Yeah, I think there was a stab. I think Doric stabbed Achaea like this turn.
Okay.
Maybe next turn. There's a stab coming right around here again to flip things. And I think, yeah, it looks like Achaea attacks Doric. I forget exactly what happened here with their stuff, but I realized, I don't know, there was a war going on, things weren't great. I feel like this stuff was being arranged, because I think the way that the negotiations were it was that Doric is going to get Aegean, and Achaea is going to get more of the Adriatic. And then Ionia just, like, got too strong for that negotiation to finish, I think. That sounds right to me.
That makes sense.
Look, man, it's not in the Black Sea. Why would I really care about it? All that matters is that Doric is... Yeah.
Ionia's just done really well out of this, after Screwskins or whatever they call stuff.
Yeah, the Etruscans crushing red.
Those ones.
And it's scary, right? Because they've built some more armies now, and like as we saw, you can go from this tier and push east. And so, there's a really strong power in the west that has armies and is going to start pushing people. Like, oh no, I guess they're going to hit me.
On the other fronts.
Yep. At least I have this one unit here.
Yeah.
That can hold. Yep, I'll be fine.
Good luck.
The best way to defend is to build, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you just keep building, you'll be able to defend and you'll be safe.
You are going to be able to build, it looks
Probably.
like. So that's a big plus.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
very important. Alright, so, yeah, we'll see the retreats. Fan went into Azov instead of off the board. How sad. And so this position, right, it's a kind of a neat guess. So, assuming that ARAR is going to support Nace and Tefaz, Colchis is going to be down to only 2 centers, in Theo and Riz, at the end of this year. And they're going to have a fleet in Azov and a fleet in Theo, and then there are 2 units down here. If they choose to keep their fleet in Azov and their fleet in Theo, it's like a big pain to actually take Theo. If I can build a fleet in Yeli, I can then cut Azov, and then everything's fine. And so that's the agreement that I talked to Salt about, if I leave Yeli open. But if I don't leave Yeli open, he can just take it. He's not going to take it. He's going to support hold Theo. That's the bet. Of course he's going to support hold Theo. People don't take my centers.
Gotcha.
They're like, it's like against the rules to walk into my centers.
I mean, this is coming off of you specifically pointing out that Ionia has a lot of armies over there, because I don't know if I'd be looking at that at this point. I might be overly focused on the Black Sea as well, but I don't know that I would want to build another fleet. I feel like it might be important to put 2 armies down ASAP.
I see.
But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens here.
Tactics. Oh my god, the
nice.
support. It works. Amazing. I'm +2.
And you managed to keep Yeli open. Beautiful.
Yep. And I keep Yeli open so I can build a fleet there. Because you can just, right, because now if he keeps Azov and Thea, right, I can tap it and everything's fine. So, we're great. It's wonderful. I get to build a fleet next to Salt, and Salt is happy about it because I'm going to help him take Theo this year. Right? It's great. It's wonderful.
God, you'd better get a unit into Western Black Sea soon so that you can convoy back. Those armies are not in nice places. But yeah.
Yeah, I can also just build armies in the West and then do stuff. Because I'm +2, right? I can build a fleet and an army.
Yes. You can get 1 fleet and 1 army. Where's your next build coming from?
That is a good question, CaptainMeme. Where does my next build come from?
Well, I would say it would need to be Rus, right? Well, you can collapse in on Lydia, but I don't see how you get the builds from that.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's tough.
Understood. Let's see the builds.
Right. Go for it.
Wait,
where are the builds? Oh, these are retreats.
Oh,
okay,
yeah, sorry, retreat. Yeah, to Middle East.
New map style.
Yep.
Okay, these are quite bright colours after the previous.
Yeah, it's jarring. So, yep, Fleet Yali, Army Odes. I can maybe retake Ruse now and be okay.
Yeah. I think maybe I'm being overly concerned about those Ionian armies. They do take a while to get there, right?
Yeah, he did build another
Go
one.
for you. Yeah, but it's still a ways back. You only have the 2 potentially coming for you.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, and they've got centers to take in the meantime, right? They're going to take Ister and Delm. But definitely it's like the next war is going to be against Ionia.
Yeah. Alright. Well, oh, they took that fleet off.
They took these fleets off.
Alright, so your fleet there... I mean, I guess it gave you an excuse to get another fleet down if you wanted one.
Yep. Which I did.
Is there anything you want to talk about the builds?
Nah, I think we can just see the spring.
Alright, let's go ahead to spring.
I stab Salt.
Oh my god. Oh my god! You were the stabber all along. I was worried about Salt the whole time. See, dot, take, dot. Never trust Ezio. This is... I hadn't even considered it. Like, it's a really good stab, and it's where your dots are coming from, right?
Where do my next dots come from, CaptainMeme? I don't have any.
They are from there. I was just, like, so focused on the fact that, hey, you're helping Salt into Theo.
Right? I'm helping
Like,
Salt into Theo.
I didn't even think about this.
But no, I just, yeah. So this was a fun one where Salt had a spectator that he was talking to a lot about the game. And Salt was like, hey, is Ezio going to stab me here? And the spectator was like, yes, oh my god, yes, absolutely Ezio's going to stab you. What are you even thinking about asking the question? But I managed to convince him to not build a unit here, because we don't need it. We've already won the East. You have enough fleets. You don't need any more armies. The East is fine. You don't need to worry about the Black Sea. It's locked. And then Salt was like, nah, Ezio's. We're good. He's not going to stab me. Yep.
Oh my god. I really love the convoy into Crimea. I think it's a really effective move, but also, actually, it's kind of difficult to capitalize on here, right? No, you can take 2 guaranteed. You can take Theo and Kirky.
Yep, I can tap Cher and Kirky and then support myself into Theo, and he can only bounce one of them with Goad.
You do have to cover Tyra, right?
Nah.
No? You're happy to just let him go
yeah.
in there?
if I'm tapping Kirky and Cher, right, if he takes Tira, I get both of them.
Oh. You're tapping both. Okay,
yeah,
I see.
I'm just tapping both of them and supporting myself into Theo.
Okay, yeah, that does make sense, because he can only defend those with that.
And the negotiations here were super fun, where he was like, fair play. Wanna not let this spill out of the Black Sea? Obviously, I'm gonna lose the war here, but I don't want to fight with you anywhere else. And I was like, yep, sounds good to me. I am happy to coordinate with Salt still against Lydia in the future, and Phoenicia, and stick to this whole plan, but I want to be the only one in the Black Sea. And he was like, yep, alright, fair play.
Yeah, fair enough. This was really well played on your part.
Yeah, I'm very proud of this. The way that I navigated the Colchis War, where I got all of the dots over here, he only got Riz, that then happened to get lost, and then the only dot he was going to get was Theo, and then I stabbed him right before he actually got it, so like I got everything, and he got nothing. It was... I'm really, really proud of how I navigated that alliance. Right? And, like, again, everyone was like, oh my god, Salt's gonna stab Ezio at some point, because, like, his position is so much better. Right? And then... Nope.
There you go. This is the benefits of being a regional when Salt is having to worry about other areas, right?
Yeah, he
Salt
just wasn't
only
paying
ever
enough
had
attention to this.
Well, no, it's not even just that. It's that you put him in a situation where he thought he had enough power in this region with just the 3 units, right? So he didn't need to build anything more, and that meant you had a really good stab on him when the time came. And those units aren't in ideal positions. None of them can coordinate with any of the other ones on anything from this position.
Because, yeah, obviously I'd negotiated. We'd been talking about killing Lydia, right, going forward, about finishing Lydia the 3-way. And so the agreement here was I was supposed to just move into Western Black Sea, and like we were just gonna start convoying armies, just fly them in there. And so like I was gonna convoy into Sino or support him into Sino, or the exact tactics we hadn't worked out specifically, but like from Western Black Sea and Hams and East Black Sea, like we're gonna take stuff from Lydia. And so that's a very reasonable path forward. It just I thought benefited them more than me, and this worked. So
Yep. I mean, I absolutely agreed, right? You heard on the last phase I was going, where are your dots in Lydia? This, you're not getting any of this.
yep, yeah, I'm really proud of this one. Yeah, in the post game, Salt had a thing where like, yeah, if he spent like 30 seconds to put himself in my position, he would have realized I was gonna stab him. But he just didn't. So, yeah.
Mhm. Well, bloody well done. It
All
is
right.
a really good one. I don't know that there's that much more to talk about in it, but well done.
Feels good.
Yes. Is there anything else relevant going on the board? It looks like Egypt is fighting Doric again in the south, which means Phoenicia is also... No, Phoenicia is fighting Egypt now. Interesting. Oh, and Colchis is gonna survive.
Colchis gets out.
Oh,
Yep.
they're just escaping with the lone unit. Alright.
Yep.
Well done, Colchis, on the evac there.
Yep.
Alright. Well.
Yep, Ionia is huge, and like Ionia is just getting more centers everywhere. It's very scary.
Yes.
But yeah,
Although
let's,
they still don't have as many as Salt does, interestingly.
No, they don't. They're down by like 6, because Salt gained 1 million last year. Right, Salt was +4, right, and I still managed to get him to not build and share. That was so clean. I think
Nice.
he waved. I think he actually waved to build.
Well done.
Nah, he probably didn't.
Alright.
He probably didn't wave. All right, great. But yeah, I think we can just see the fall. Or sorry,
Yeah,
retreats
let's go ahead to
first. Ah, it's beautiful.
Oh my god, he doesn't cover anything?
Nope.
Did he... Oh, you said that the negotiation was just don't take it out of this area, right?
No, I mean, well, that was the negotiation, but he also said, I'm gonna slow you down as much as possible. And I was like, all right, do your worst.
Nice. And I noticed that I assume Lydia walking into Audrey was agreed because you're taking...
Ruse was gonna retreat there potentially. So
Yes.
yep.
Mhm.
And like I was already I was gaining a bunch of dots, right? I'm already gaining +4, so letting Lydia gain 1 is fine.
Yeah. Speaking of going +4, have you considered coring something?
Oh,
yet?
yeah, I cored Faz. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I cored Faz when I took it last year. And that was the thing that like I think the GM should have done a better job at like announcing that Faz was cored. Because the GM didn't like it's you see it's colored in on the map, and there was like a little circle around it during the winter. Yeah, right, to indicate,
Oh, I see.
hey, look, it was cored, but like that's so subtle, like nobody noticed it. And I suspect that might have affected how concerned Salt would have been about my stab, because this sort of like signals, hey, I really do want to keep the Black Sea.
Actually, like, as Salt, I feel like I would be fine with you coring that because it looks like you're then going to go and rush Phoenicia and build, like, armies down there.
Yep.
So, I don't know that it would have made that much of a difference, but yeah.
Yeah, it might have been. It
It's,
was just, I think that, like, I think it could have been announced a little more thoroughly, but it's fine. But yeah,
Fair
so, this, we have builds. We have builds still. So we have a nice turn where Ionia is getting crushed, or not Ionia, Iberia is getting crushed by Ionia. Phoenicia's just getting stuff. Carthage is dying to Doric. Egypt is dying. Basically all of the miners are getting cut, and
Achaia, yeah.
Achaia is exploding. And so at this point, like, we're talking, I'm talking with Ionia a little bit, and Doric and Phoenicia, and we're basically like, we're just gonna clean. Like at this point, we can take the time to just clean up all of the miners and then call it a draw in a 4-way. But like, Imp Dip's going on, the Chaos game, and so that's taking up a bunch of our time. And so people are starting to seem pretty checked out of this game. So we're all winding down and we can feel it coming. And then I officially propose the draw after winter when I see these two armies get built. And I'm just like, it's clearly going to come east and it's going to be an annoying war and I'm not going to get to E up Lydia for free and all this stuff. And so we all drop. The entire map agrees to a draw here.
I think that's kind of fair. I feel like the victory condition is very high here. It seems doable, but it would take a long time for anyone to get there, right? Maybe even you have the best chance of anyone at this point because your victory condition is so much lower. But even then, you're pretty easily contained, I think. You can gain the Lydian centers, but if people decide they want to stalemate you and work together, you are not getting out of that corner.
Yeah, it's... So this is the thing we talked about a little bit, and I will say I think the rest of the map underestimated my position here. They all thought I was definitely they were like, oh, you have the least chance to win from here, which probably worked in my favor, and I perhaps could have used it, because again, yeah, my win condition is so much lower than everyone else's, and because I'm in the corner, it's harder to get a big coalition against me. If Doric gets close to winning, right, and they're at 35 or something, they're gonna have centers everywhere, right? Yeah, they're gonna be able to be attacked from all sorts of locations. Although they have so many centers down here, and they still need to get another 20, right? 19 centers, and then another 20 for Ionia. I only need 15 more centers, and when I looked at it. Right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that are all close to the Black Sea. Maybe not Audrey, because Audrey's on the Aegean. But so there's 5 right there that's very easy. And then getting 10 more centers, if I flood and I take Aleppo and Kane, that's 2 more that are pretty reasonable, not touching anything down here. And then I need 8 more, and it starts to get pretty tough.
Yeah, this is I do enjoy looking at stalemate positions, right? We don't usually go in depth in them in videos, and I'm not going to actually analyze this to see where they are. But the fact that you can't get fleets out of Marmarosa, out of Bosphorus, basically, if someone wants to stop you there, they can just close that super easily.
Yeah.
That makes it really difficult to achieve your win condition. I think you probably still have a better chance than anyone else does, just because of how ludicrously large those victory conditions are. But it's only a better chance if people don't realize and focus it in time.
Yep. And again, in the post-game, Ionia was yeah, their armies kind of have to go east now. And so that's just going to start being an annoying war over here that's going to take a lot of units. And I'm not going to get to eat any of these things easily. I'm probably not going to get them anyways. So it was yeah. I think this was a fine draw, and I would expect the miners to get carved up, and then we agree to a 4-way, because nobody is gonna really win that effectively. I think Doric has the best chance on paper, right, by just being huge and on the entire bottom of the map. But yeah, I think because we all see that, it's great, Phoenicia's gonna mess with him, and Ionia is going to mess with him too, so... Yeah, this was a really fun one.
Oh my god. So Salt never stabbed you. You were the one who stabbed Salt.
Salt never stabbed me.
I've been preaching the morals of don't trust Salt for the entire game, and you were the untrustworthy one.
Yep.
This is ridiculous. But I think you stabbed at a really good time. I think this is it was an excellent comeback as well from what was a really awful... beginning of the game.
Oh yeah. No, the start was truly abysmal. Yeah, I'm really proud of how this whole game went. Yeah.
So, jolly well done. And yeah,
Trust
is there
Salt.
anything? No,
That's the
I
takeaway.
will
Trust
not endorse
salt.
this.
Yeah.
I will not endorse this. I will never endorse that opinion.
He didn't stab. Ever. Me.
Mm-hmm. He did stab, he just didn't stab you.
Yeah.
I think he watched the last Diplostrats video, he was like, I do not want to be the antagonist of the next Diplostrats video, I'm gonna stick with Ezio.
It's possible. I don't think it affected his decision.
Okay, no,
I think I'm just such a friendly person that nobody ever wants to stab me.
I will say I don't actually believe that. I think it was the positioning that led to him always wanting to be on side with you in that area. Because he, at the end of the day, he didn't have very much there, right? He, and the fact that you weren't much of a fleet-based power, and he was entirely focused in this little area that's really hard to take without fleets, I think made him feel like he would be safe there with you as an ally. Yeah.
And I stabbed him at the first chance I had.
Yep. Alright, so do you have any closing comments for the game then?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a blast. There was so much tension at the very start of this game, which is a cool design for a variant. Like a lot of these bigger variants that I've seen have a very slow build-up, because it's like everyone's got a ton of neutrals that they can like walk into, and it's just like, okay, great, so we're gonna spend like 3 days just talking to people, not doing anything. Like there's no real fighting necessarily going on. Like maybe there's gonna be a bounce or two. Like it's super friendly. Whereas this one, you're dropped and you hit the ground running, because you don't have space to make any alliances. Like you can't cut and say, hey, I'll get these 2 centers, you get those 2 centers, because there just aren't any. And I think that's very interesting design. I think they're going to make changes to the Scythia region. A big one is that they're going to cut Western Black Sea into 2 smaller provinces. I forget the exact specifics of how that was going to go, but they were going to change it so it doesn't have the same, like, again, it's bordering 6 centers right now. Like, yeah, it's just such a big center. They also are going to change the army in Yeli to be a fleet. Is a probable change for the next map.
So you do have some defense against that. Although it's still an interesting position in that you have no defense on the majority of your home supply centers, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's so easy to criticize that as saying this power is so weak they're going to lose their centers early on. But then you look at a game like this and you see what kind of gameplay it produces, right? The fact that you manage to deal with it and then come back and take them back again. You think sometimes those criticisms just hold back what could be achieved in a variance.
Yeah.
I really loved it. Yeah.
It was super cool.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, massive thank you to the GM who run it. I don't know, do you have their name?
It was Con Pope. Was the GM
Pope
that was running it. Yeah.
Yes, thanks for running the game. Of course, thank you to everyone for playing. It was a fantastic one to commentate here. And as per usual with these, I think there's a Discord server. Am I right on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll leave a link to the Discord server in the description. If you're interested in Hellenic Dip or in giving your feedback on the map or talking to the designer, then go ahead and jump into that Discord. I certainly will be doing. Alright, so that's it for another episode of Diplostrats. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.